My boy
Ladies and gentlemen, the offseason has officially began. We here, fellas. As you guys know, you can see the title of the show. You can see the thumbnail of the show. The offseason officially kicked off with the Knicks trading for Mikal Bridges in a move that I didn't see coming. People were talking about it. I didn't believe it. I didn't think they were going to do it, but they pulled the trigger. What's up, fellas? Talk to me.
My boy Mars Blackman going through it today. I just know that for a fact. My man Mars Blackman is going through it because the exact thing we talked about yesterday, is actually happening where his crew is getting basically raided. So I'm not going to bring you down, Mars, with this nonsense. I'm not going to do that. I do want to discuss what's going on now. Fellas, I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this way different than I feel like I'm looking at this way different than you guys are. So, Mikal Bridges, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm not mistaken, Damo, OG Anunoby in the last 2 years, he's only played in the last 5 years. I'm sorry, he's only played 60 games twice. Mikal Bridges last season, he missed the game. He's basically been an Iron Man. I think he had the record for the most games played. I think he's played like over 450, 460 games, something like that. So one, I got a more durable guy. Number two, he fits better in this New York Knicks system. Better player does not always mean better fit. But in this particular situation, I feel like not only is he the better player, he fits better. He does everything. The situation I equated to Drew Holiday for Marcus Smart. Everything you do, I do it better. Except, and I'm a better player than you, and I work better in this system, very much like Eric Bledsoe. So that's number two. Number three, he's actually cheaper than OG Anunoby, and number four, which still is something that's bugging me out. They got a 5-spot issue that they have to deal with, very much like Oklahoma City when they got Alex Caruso. They shored up an issue, but they have another issue that they have to deal with. So why am I going to overpay for OG Anunoby when I traded for a dude who's more durable, who's better, fits better in our system, and is cheaper? And I still haven't dealt with my situation, which is the 5 spot. Why am I going to overpay for OG Anunoby? You guys know how I feel about guys walking out the front door and management letting guys walk out the front door. I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm not a big fan of it. But in this particular situation, I don't hate it because I said this to Mars, I think it was yesterday. I said this to Mars. Essentially what the Knicks did was they traded RJ Barrett, Quigley, 5 ones for OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. And you're going to let OG Anunoby walk out the front door. Do I hate this trade? I don't think it pushes them over the top and they're better than the Celtics. I don't think that. But I do think it makes them better.
When this trade originally happened, the first thing I was hearing was, oh, man, they did this. Now they just got to make sure they secure OG. And, oh, man, they bring this back. Everything they can do with OG is going to be great. My first thought was they did this. So if OG wants too much, they have another option. I did not see this move or this trade as okay, we're doing this and we're going to pair this with OG and have the guy. Nah, I view this as, okay, you want to be a free agent? You want to test your value? We're going to make sure we're safe. And I love it. I love it. It's an aggressive move, in my opinion. I love it. It's to get better. You just had a year where everyone's saying if you're healthy, you could have been in the finals, essentially. People had them being able to beat the Celtics. People had them beating the Pacers. To go out and get, in my opinion, make a move that makes you a better team. I feel like it definitely is a better player. OG's phenomenal, but I'm taking Mikal Bridges over OG. I love the move. People were upset about the amount of picks. I wasn't necessarily mad at the picks. Maybe on the net side of things, you could have probably traded them a little earlier and got something else. The Rockets in this situation, I don't. Mars,
leave us out of it. Leave us out of it.
It's hard to leave you out of it because it's insane. How that's working. We'll get into that, but in terms of the Mikal Bridges, W move from him. He just goes across the bridge. He don't got to go too far.
I only have to move, Damo. I still live in the same neighborhood I live in. Brooklyn, from Brooklyn to Manhattan, from Queens to Manhattan. It's the same thing. I don't even have to move. I live in the same spot.
I said it last night when I was on playback. I knew this was happening the moment he went on that podcast, and he just looked real comfortable. He was like, it just works over here, right? He said something along the line of, man, it looked nice, it looked fun, it looked great. I'm like, yeah, he's done. He looked too happy. He too closed up with the Villanova boys. So we officially got the Villanova Knicks. This is insane.
They might as well go take Cam Whitmore from us if they're just bringing a bunch of Villanova players.
Well, you're getting rated anyway, Mars. So what difference does it make, right? Because you're getting
Might as
rated
well,
anyway.
right?
Go for
Might as
Amari
well.
Spellman, man.
You're getting rated anyway. So yeah, once you hand over Cam, hand him over too. And he's on his Rook deal, so it's not like it's going to cost us a lot. He's still on his Rook deal.
Yeah.
So
we just helping everybody out right now. It's wonderful.
Yo, what's going on, Penn? We got my
What's
man
going
Penn
on?
in the house. How you feeling today?
Confused.
about
5 first-round picks. That's it's tough, man. It's a tough one.
I think the issue that we have in now is, and to your point, and I feel like it's valid, but I feel like it would be valid in years past. I feel like we're in a time now where we're in the most parity since the 70s. So everybody has an opportunity to win right now. So those draft picks in 4 or 5 years, they might not mean as much as they would have if there was less parity in the league. As opposed to right now, if we can take these draft picks, and I could get Mikal Bridges, and even though I don't think this makes them better than the Celtics, right? Even though I don't think this catapults them to the top of the Eastern Conference, I feel like because the parity in the league is where it is today, I feel like these draft picks aren't as valuable as they used to be. That's why Minnesota did what they did with the 4-1s and getting Rudy Gobert. Because in years, I mean, Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken, I think they finished when they tied for they had the 3rd seed. So what they're gonna have, the 26th or the 27th pick in the first round. So am I really tripping on that? Especially next year, if I'm doing the same thing, am I really tripping on the 28th pick or the 26th pick in the first round in 2 years? Am I really tripping on that, as opposed to if that pick ends up being the 3rd pick because I got a bunch of guys hurt, something like that?
I'm not too worried about 2025.
Mhm.
I'm worried about 2027. I'm real worried about 2029. And 2031 is scary.
Because
It's scary times. Bro, who's on the Knicks in 2031? I mean,
Mhm.
so much stuff could happen in 6 years. I
Mhm.
mean, we just watched the Boston Celtics now. I think the Boston Celtics are a great example. I was not a fan necessarily. I mean, I rated the Drew Holiday move, and I thought when they made that move that they were favorites to win the championship. But I picked the Dallas Mavericks to beat them, and I was wrong. Now, that all being said, if the Boston Celtics are the team you're trying to beat, they're a great model for what you should be doing, right? And what did the Boston Celtics do? Patiently, they built, and opportunistically, they scoured the league for opportunities like Derek White, 2 first-round picks, opportunities like Drew Holiday from Portland, opportunities like Kristaps Porzingis. That's how they built their core, patiently over time, right? Now, you got the Nova Knicks right now. This works for me if you got OG coming back. And I'm hearing the reporting change a lot on OG. When they made the trade, it was he's going to take a discount, he's coming back, it's a lock, right? That was the reporting back then. His son is this agent, blah, blah, blah. They got the CAA connection. It's a deal. It's wrap. He wants to be here. He wanted to do this, right? But I was the first person that I recall on the internet anywhere that said, not so fast. And I made a video called The Raptors Are Playing 4D Chess. And it got like 30,000 views. And a lot of people were very upset because I was like, why are you so sure this OG thing is done? Because to me, it's like, he's the biggest free agent right now. And everyone needs him. So if he's going to leverage out 40 million, now there's 2 versions of this. Version number 1, they got the all clear from OG. I'm coming back. And they're like, perfect. Let's milk it. Now I see it. You got a real 3-year window with this. But if you lose OG and you lose our Isaiah Hartenstein, I don't see the point of doing this, personally.
Well, if you lose OG, that's why you have Mikal Bridges.
I get what you're saying. It's good insurance policy, right? It works either way. right? If you lose
I don't
OG,
actually think that, and I want you to keep going. I don't actually think it's an insurance policy. What Damo talking about? I think he's better than OG. I think he actually fits better than OG does in this system. But keep going.
I see the point on that too. Like there is a valid point here. He is the antithesis of OG. He's super healthy. He's always going to be there, right? He's the Iron Man, right? He had that whole Iron Man streak. He's offensively a lot better than OG. Defensively, I don't know. I don't know where I sit on that, right? He's had two great years. There was a year before last year in Brooklyn. And then, of course, a lot of people say he kind of soft quit on the Nets. And frankly, I don't hold that against them. The Nets are a really bad organization. And they did some really stupid shit last year that got a lot of people pissed off. Specifically, I think it was that back-to-back against Detroit. And then they tanked against Milwaukee and they sat all their starters out. And they didn't. And I don't think the locker room was with that. And that's when you hear a lot of rumblings. Spencer Dinwiddie wants out, etc. And so the minute I saw him on that podcast with Jalen Brunson and them guys, I was like, all right, that's a wrap. So he's either going to Houston or he's going here. And so if you're the Knicks, you're like, all right, we don't care what we're paying here. And I get that. But almost every single team that has ever traded out unprotected first this far out has lived to regret it. Specifically, the Brooklyn Nets themselves, when they did the same move. Now, it's not the same case here. Obviously, KG and Paul Pierce were a lot older. But I'm just saying, like, if you got OG to kind of wink, commit that, yeah, I'm coming back, it just doesn't make sense to me because OG's whole beef when he left Toronto, and I cover the Raptors, was that he wanted a bigger role in offense and he wanted to get paid. And so it's like now with the second apron implications of how you want to build rosters out, you got a lot of discounted players. Jalen Brunson's on a heavy discount, right? Isaiah Hartenstein was on a crazy discount. Might have been the best contract in the NBA last 2 years, like for what he was bringing. Sure. OG was on a crazy discount. Now, when these guys start getting overpaid, I'm like, what's your locker room looking like right now? Because it's a competitive league. These are competitive dudes. They were the best players in their states. And so it's one thing when everyone's taking a haircut. Everyone's, taking that was the deal with Emmanuel Quickley. Emmanuel Quickley wanted to get paid. And they said, hit the road, Jack. Go to Toronto, get paid. But we're paying you 17 because that's what we see you as a backup guard. And Emmanuel Quickley said, bet. I'm a starting guard. I'm coming off the bench for you, but I'm a starting guard. I'm going to show you I'm going to get 25 somewhere else. And they just decided to bucket and they traded him. So I'm saying, if you start paying OG 40, what's the rest of your locker room looking around saying, this guy's making 40 million. He's playing 60 games. I'm out here, Josh Hart, making, 19. I think I'm just as good as this guy. And I'm getting 19. I don't know. I think it screws up your chemistry a little bit. So if they get rid of OG, I don't see you even sniffing the conference finals.
If they get rid of him,
can't hear you, Damo.
If you lose OG and Isaiah Hartenstein in the same offseason, I'm just saying, if you lost them both, just hypothetically, and don't tell me it's not possible. And you can say it's unlikely.
You could lose both of them. That's 100%.
You could lose
100%.
So are you better than last year if you lose both those guys and you replace them with Mikal Bridges? Are you better than last year?
I genuinely think they're going out of their way to, at least from what I'm hearing and seeing, they're going out their way to try to make sure they keep Hartenstein. They're attempting to move Mitchell Robinson to move whatever they need to move to be able to re-sign him. I would just ask, if you're worried about 2027 and 2029, how long of a window do you believe the Knicks see themselves having with Jalen Brunson? Because I assumed with him, this core, just where they were going forward, they were looking at least a 4-year window. And if you're looking at a 4-year window with Jalen Brunson being your best player, if Julius Randle is going to be there, if they can move him to even increase the team better or do some other things, do some different things, just things, I felt you see your team with a 4-year window. I don't think it's crazy to punt on what was 4 unprotected Knicks picks. I mean, it's the back end of the draft. Who have you drafted at the back end of the draft in the last 10 years? Are you confident in drafting a player that you can feel can help win now if you're in help win now mode? I think Mikal Bridges does that. And that's not a bad price to pay if I know I'm punching on trying to go through the draft at any point in time. If I know I'm about to try to be a competitive team and max out on what I'm trying to do, I'm going to try to win now.
I see what you're saying.
The Knicks absolutely have a 4-year window, though. Jalen Brunson's only 27. Julius Randle, he's only 29. Yeah.
I don't think they have a 4-year
window.
No,
just listen to these players that I'm talking about in their ages.
Okay.
Julius Randle's 29 years old. I'm assuming he's going to play at this same level till 33.
For who?
Jalen Brunson is 27. I'm assuming he's going to play at this level till 31.
Sure.
If OG was to come back, he's only 26. Josh Hart is 28. Dante DiVincenzo, 27. Isaiah Hardenstein, I know he's a free agent, but he's 25. Mitchell Robinson, 25. Like all of these guys are young. Miles McBride, he's 23. And Mikal Bridges, I think he's 26 or 27. These dudes are all still young.
Now, with everything that you just said, Ron, it does make sense in terms of the age. But remember, like, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting your name, my man. But Penn. I'm sorry, Penn. But like Penn just mentioned, like we got these guys on discounts. Brunson next season, he's got a player option after next season. So he comes off the books in the 25-26 season. So he's only got one more year. So you're going to have to pay him. You still got Mikal Bridges for 2 years. So after this year, he's got one more year left on his deal after this coming season, the 24-25 season. So now it's going to start getting expensive. I understand your logic about age, Ron, but when you're talking about a window, the reason why it's tricky is because we got to win right now because there's no guarantee that we're going to be able to hold on to all of these guys. Now, Penn, I do have some pushback on your idea of those ones because I feel like the rotation guys that I have, if I'm moving off of these guys, I feel like I can get some of those ones back from my rotation guys, especially if I win it. Particularly if I win it, I think I could get some of those ones back moving forward. Because again, if you're talking about 4 or 5 years from now, you know what what the Knicks are going to look like. They may not look like what they're going to look like right now. Because again, these guys come off the books, and with these guys coming off the books, it could go from this to this immediately. We do know that.
I get that. I'm saying, you know, we assume that guys are going to stay static. At 27. The guy who's 27 right now is balling like an all-star, is going to stay healthy. 28, 29, 30 is going to stay stagnant. There's a lot of players in NBA history, if you really study the trends, that peaked at 24. A lot. I think Vince Carter peaked at 24, 23 years old. He didn't have a better season after that. Injuries can take away a lot. I'm trusting that Tom Thibodeau is going to remain the coach. That's a player, that's a coach that takes a lot of, in my opinion, years off the end of your career. Look at Luol Deng. Look at Joakim Noah. Look at Derrick Rose. I mean, I go through the list of players that have played for that guy that really were not themselves after 30. So even if we agree that the Knicks have a 3-year window, which I could certainly see, especially if they bring back OG, if they bring back Isaiah Hartenstein, they trade off of Mitchell Robinson, I could see a window. I was for the Knicks, man. I was rooting against them. I was rooting for them against Ron's Pacers there. You know, I was really rooting for that. It was a devastating loss. So I'm not coming in here to rain on the Knicks parade. I get it. But man, it's not just about those picks. It's about the flexibility, and it's also about the opportunity. The opportunity is that in the new CBA, like with teams not navigating it correctly, you're already seeing the mess that the Phoenix Suns are in. Right?
It's a dumpster fire over there. 100%.
It's a dumpster fire for them. It's a dumpster fire for the Clippers. It's a dumpster fire for literally all these teams. And what do you need? What do you specifically need to get off a contract like Bradley Beal? You need first-round picks. You need first-round picks, and you need flexibility to be able to give that off, and you don't have it. And once you start talking about the second apron restrictions and the way the CBA is imposing these, now you suddenly have you looked at the CBA in terms of what the second apron restrictions are for teams that are operating that high above the cap, especially
I think it's $3 for every $1 you over. Now it's $3 you have to pay.
That's the monetary restriction, the team building restriction, not being able to sign guys in the buyout market, not having your mid level, not having the ability to aggregate contracts. Right. Then you got to factor in that if you keep on the second apron, your picks they get moved all the way to the back. So those picks that you did keep, they could be really bad picks too. At some point, you do get to a point where you give up too much, and then you end up in a very, very long rebuild. You don't want to be doing a long rebuild, and we know New York has always been unwilling to do the long rebuild, right? To me, it's like you make this move if you get Kevin Durant in his prime, and you're trading 5 first-round picks. I get it. The problem with the Knicks trading first-round picks right now is those picks are very devalued. They're very devalued, right? Because
right now they are, sure.
Right, but in 2031. That pick that you just gave up to sweeten the deal, especially the unprotected part, that to me is the biggest caveat here. It's not lottery protected. It's not top 5 protected. You have no assurances. In 2031, we don't know who is in, we don't know what 12th, like kid is like 11 years old right now is going to be first overall pick. Could be LeBron James, Victor Wembanyama part 2. We don't know because they're 11 years old right now. And you could be giving up that pick clear to the Brooklyn Nets as your fan base watches, and you are sitting in cap hell. I don't know, man. I don't like trading out picks that far ahead. I'm going to be all doomsday prophecy and stuff. But if you get an OG back, you give yourself a 3-year window. Hopefully health remains on your side. But there's no sure things. But I like what the Knicks did. I'm happy that they invested in the core. I like Mikal Bridges. I think he's a really fairly priced contract. And that's why you had to give up so much picks to get him. Because he's a really good asset at that price. But this is a 27, 28-year-old. I mean, if his best basketball is ahead of him and he can be as good as he was last year for Brooklyn, if you get that Mikal Bridges, I could see him being worth 4 first-round picks. But 5 first-round picks and a swap, that's tough. And an expiring contract. That's tough. That's a tough bill, man. That's what I expected them to give up for Donovan Mitchell. And even then, it would be like, oof, that's a steep price. So I don't want to look at what the Minnesota Timberwolves did for Rudy Gobert and say, okay, now every team go out and do that. Because for every Rudy Gobert,
that is the bar, though. That
it's a crazy bar, though.
I know that does become the bar now, especially considering. I mean, Minnesota, they were in the Western Conference Championship. They did pay some dividends. Rudy did win the Defensive Player of the Year, so it does look like the trade was good. Yeah, they faltered in the Western Conference Championship. They ran into a Dallas team that just played better than them. But I do think that it made their crew much better. And they did get not only did it make their crew better, they advanced in the playoffs. So it did work. And it largely worked because of how much better their defense is. So those first round picks, the idea is, okay, if I got the 26th pick, is the 26th pick in the 2026 or what are you in 2024? So is the 25th pick in the 25 draft, is that going to be better than Rudy Gobert in 3 years?
Oh, I totally get it, but they also gave up Walker Kessler in that deal, right? That's rim protection that you gave up. I mean, we could debate all day whether Walker Kessler is probably on par as a prospect at the same age as Rudy Gobert. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like the Kawhi and the PG thing, right? They gave up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and 5 first-round picks.
They had to do that. I don't know if that was the same thing. That was a situation where if you don't do that, you're getting fired. Even though in hindsight, it doesn't look like the best trade, but at that time, I mean, Kawhi Leonard was considered the best player on the planet. They had just won the NBA championship.
Yeah, but you had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in your building.
But the difference is that
guy.
You didn't know who he was, though. You didn't know who SGA was. On top of that, Paul George just came off a career year. With Paul George coming off a career year, you got Kawhi Leonard, who his team just won the NBA championship. I don't know who SGA is at this point. I know for a fact Doc Rivers didn't want to give up SGA, but if I don't do this, I'm getting fired. Off the strength of what's on the table, I have to do it.
He was a 19-year-old lottery pick who had a really good showing in the playoffs. That's what he was. You gave up 5 first-round picks plus that. I get it. They didn't want to do it. Right. And then Lawrence Frank went up to Steve Ballmer and he said, don't think of it as SGA and 5 first-round picks for Paul George. Think of it as Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard coming off the historic finals run. Right. I get it, but it's impulsive. And how long did it take for that deal to look stupid? Exactly 8 months. The minute you saw SGA in a new context, it was like, oof, too much.
Who have those picks been, though? Like, the picks that were in that deal, who did they turn out to be?
That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is, what do those picks represent in terms of opportunity and flexibility right now for the Clippers? Because once you give them up, you're locked into your roster. You don't have that opportunity. You can't pivot. You can't tank, right? You know what I mean? Like if Kawhi gets injured, like let's say next year, right? Let's say the Clippers are out. I don't know if they have their pick next year, but let's assume they don't, right? Let's say their pick is out to OKC next year. Let's say Kawhi gets injured in October or November, right? In a normal year, with Cooper Flagg sitting at the top of the draft, with Cameron Boozer and all these guys sitting at the top of the draft, you tear it down, you tank, but you don't have that optionality right now. It's like what the Houston Rockets just did, trading back for giving the Nets back their pick, and then getting the. It
was a good move for Houston.
It is a good move, right? Because now you have exactly what the Phoenix Suns need. But why do you have what the Phoenix Suns needs? Because if the Suns trade off of KD, they're tanking. Right?
But Pin, though, this is my thing. I get what you're saying, and I understand you are supposed to value picks. But here's the thing with poverty franchises like, and excuse me if you're a fan, the Clippers. Poverty franchises like
richest owner in the
poverty
league, bro.
franchises like the Knicks have been over the last 20 years, 25 years. With teams like that, even the Suns, with teams like that, you have to do what you have to do. It's like, look, we've had all of these first-round picks, second-round picks, mega picks, lottery picks. We've had everything over the last 25 years, and it's gotten us absolutely nowhere. And now, with that being said, I do think the Knicks overpaid for Mikal Bridges. But you know what? We're about to watch the draft tonight. And it's going to be probably about 5 to 10 players that pan out in the first round. The rest of the players, we're not going to be talking about them in 4 to 5 years. That's why it's a draft. That's why it's a lottery. They literally call it a lottery. And it's not just a lottery because you have to win with the balls. It's a lottery because you're taking a crap shot trying to draft these guys and expecting them to pan out. You never know what a pick in 2029 is going to be. You're like, yes, you get a good pick in 2029, and it could be the number 1 overall pick. And that pick could be Anthony Bennett. You see what I'm saying? So you're still shooting in the dark. Like you know you're getting a good pick, but these guys, it's chances that these guys never pan out. When you get an opportunity to take a guy like Mikal Bridges, put him next to Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, with the group that they have, with the way Tom Thibodeau plays, yes, sure he can run guys into the ground, but you see it got him pretty far. I think you got to do that.
So to answer your question, Damo, so in 21, Oklahoma City, that one of their picks was Trey Mann. In 22, these are the 5 ones that they ended up getting from the Clippers. In 22, that first round pick was J-Dub.
Okay.
The third one they had to get at the Miami. That turned out to be Jaime Jaquez. So we don't know who the 24 pick yet is because that's tonight.
Ryan Dunn.
Yeah, we don't know who that 24 pick is. But that's what to answer your question, that's what those picks became.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of good players. That's a lot of good players.
Oh, can you name all?
So when Oklahoma City, when Oklahoma City when Oklahoma City gave Paul George to the Clippers for them 5 ones, okay, the first one was Trey Mann. That was the first guy that they got. And in 22, they ended up getting J-Dub with the 12 pick. And then last year, they had to give that number 1 overall. They had to give that first round pick to the Heat, who ended up taking Jaime Jaquez. So that's what those.
And then
picks
it's one more pick.
But they still got 2 more. They still got 2 more ones. So, and Oklahoma City, as we know, Oklahoma City does a great job in drafting. They do a great job in the draft.
You know what it is? You go to the store and they tell you want to buy this really expensive thing. 85 easy payments of $15. That's what it is, right? It sounds so great. Well, when you start looking it up, like, yo, it's like you buy a house, you get a mortgage, it's $500,000, right? And you buy a mortgage. You look at it, 25 years, you done paid $2 million for that $500,000 house based on interest.
$400,000 in interest. You like,
hey, but you needed somewhere to live. What you want to live in a 1-bedroom studio? What you want to do?
Then rent, bro. If you talking about $2 million,
you want to live on Skid Row, Penn? I'm saying we want to live in a nice neighborhood still, though. You gotta pay interest on something. You gotta pay. Look, you was gonna overpay OG Anunoby.
Man,
so that's what I'm saying.
Don't be using that side chick logic, man. Come on, it's like no. We can't be living on credit, okay? Like you got to be stable. Look, you want to look at all the teams that did it right. Okay, we're talking like what's the model franchise in the NBA? I swear to God, all of us would say the same thing over the last 15 years. What's the model franchise in the NBA? What's the franchise that you would love to replicate if you could?
The last 15 years?
It's the Warriors.
It's the Warriors, right? How they do it.
And as of right now, the Celtics
in the draft,
they kind of duplicated what the Warriors did.
I wasn't going to say Golden State needed Damo. I wasn't.
But yo, like for the longest period of time, I think it was 2013 to 2022 when I looked, the most wins in the NBA was the Raptors and it was the Golden State Warriors, right? Beyond that, you could look at the Celtics. They've had several iterations of successful franchises that have looked different, but they've always been successful. When you look at the teams that have done it right versus the teams that have done it wrong, and everyone can point to the anecdotes. You can point to, Anthony Bennett went number 1, Andrea Bargnani went number 1, so what the hell is the value of a pick? And this pick didn't turn nothing, and this team won. No, look at the average NBA franchise that actually wins for a long period of time, and even look at the ones that don't win for a long period of time. I'm not holding winning and losing against anybody. Like, I mean, it really is two ways. It's one, maximize your draft picks and actually do well. That's the OKC model. That's the Golden State model. They drafted all their core guys, and then KD just walked on to a 73 win team. I get it. Look at that model. Look at what Boston Celtics did, right? Smart trades, man. The Boston Celtics parsed out a core that was over Jason Terry, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and they got back draft picks. And yo, I went back and I looked at the media coverage. God, y'all don't believe this.
Oh, it sounded like a great idea. Like they thought
it
that
was the
Brooklyn
greatest idea.
Yeah,
it was
the
like
Nets winning the championship. I'm like, y'all crazy? Garnett was in like 17.
Boston Celtics fans were killing them. It's like the short-sighted view is Kobe Bryant should not be traded for Vlade Divac because Vlade Divac is a better player. The long view is Kobe's going to be better in a year. That's the long view. I think great organizations take a lot of like you got to keep replenishing the coffers, man. Look at the end of the bench for the Celtics. How were they able to make all these trades? How were they able to do all these 2-for-1s? Because they had Sam Hauser, they had Peyton Pritchard on the come up. They used draft picks to get these guys. You know what I mean? So it's like it's the same thing with the Pacers. Your Pacers, they're doing it the right way, man. They have a lot of really good young players on the end of the bench. So when you decide to go all in, a 3-for-1 type of deal, you actually have players at the end of your bench, right? So that's the thing, man. The Knicks, I mean, I appreciate Jalen Brunson came to him. Jalen Brunson is outperforming that contract. He's great. Dante DiVincenzo, massive discount, right? You're getting discount. Now you're finally facing a position where you're gonna have to pay fair value for something. And so, I don't like what they did.
Can I ask you what you would have did? And then Mars, I need you to chime in. And then I see you guys have sent through a good deal of super chats. So
wait a minute, Ron.
People got to say.
We are gonna, but Penn. I think you're thinking about it in the long game. I do understand that. I do think you're thinking about it exactly with your analogy with the house. Like, yo, this house is gonna cost way more than what it's worth in 5 years. But understand why we doing it. The neighborhood that we live in, this neighborhood is booming. They're building in this neighborhood. Their businesses in this neighborhood. And we can actually get more value right now than we probably could at any time. So as of right now, we have to jump on this because this is the time in this neighborhood, because we probably in 5 years, this neighborhood won't be what it is. It's going to cost way more to live here. It's going to be way more overcrowded because people are going to be onto it. So we better get what we can get right now in this neighborhood. That's going on with the Knicks because of the parity in the NBA. We got to get everything that we could get right now because in 3 years, we might not be able to win it.
The analytics say there isn't really parity at the top. There's parity below the top. So there's parity between the Lakers and the Clippers. There's parity between, we
got 6 different NBA champions in the last 6 years, man.
Okay, if I'm being completely objective, and I picked against them, so I look like an idiot for saying this, the Boston Celtics are leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of the league right now.
So why did you pick against them?
I really believed that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum were going to choke, bro.
Because of before, that's why.
Superstitiously, I was like, Luka is that good, right? I'm like, Luka and Kyrie are like, it's a revenge tour. I don't know. I sold myself on the narrative that the best player wins in the series, that Luka was not going to choke a finals. I don't know. I sold myself on old school wisdom, like schoolyard wisdom. Of course. But the numbers were right there. Like, it was right there, right? And it's like the Boston Celtics. I mean, I don't know, man. It's like, they lost the game to the Heat. It's just anecdotes. They lost the game to the Heat. They lost the game to the Cavaliers. And it's like, bro, like the Mavericks have lost games too.
Yes, they have.
And I wasn't looking at that, but I look at the Mavericks, I look at the Denver Nuggets, and I'm like, are you better than those teams? If you're the Knicks right now, you better than the Mavericks, you better than the Denver Nuggets. Where are you in the totem pole? Because it's like, to me, the parity that people talk about, and I get where it's coming from. To me, it's because the bottom of the league is so bad that everyone is spamming 20 wins easy on those teams, right? It's like when you got a team like Detroit. No, I'm not taking a drive-by on Detroit here, but like,
let's take a drive-by.
Yeah, 25-26, 25-26 losing straight. Like, that's 26 teams that just got an easy W on you, right? Wizards are not too far behind. You got a lot of teams like this, right? And the bottom of the East is just getting worse and worse. And so, yeah, like maybe you have like 3 or 4 teams in the East that are gonna, get 54 wins this year. Because who's on the bottom of the East? Chicago.
Well, now
without
Brooklyn's there
Caruso?
too. Yeah, Brooklyn's there now
Brooklyn.
too.
Yo, like I'm looking at the Raptors and I'm like, yo, the Raptors are a pretty bad team. They might make the play-in by default at this point, right? Because it's bad. Like it's real bad. All right.
Tell the streets we back up. Make the phone call. Tell the streets we back up. Can't listen to a Raptors fan spew this bullshit all day long. Tell the streets we back up, bro.
Hey nephew, what's up?
Y'all paid Scotty Barnes $270 for nobody to come and help him because nobody's coming, brother. The Knicks are back up.
If he makes
all
270,
propaganda.
if he makes
like what
270,
the
that means he
Toronto
made all
Raptors
NBA. So I don't know. What
He deserved that bread. He deserved that.
I actually like what the Toronto Raptors is doing, to be honest with you, Penn, because it seems like it's some direction up there. It does. Like we got a franchise player, somebody that we building around, and with RJ Barrett, it seems like there's some direction up there that they have. So I don't hate that at all. I don't.
Yo, we had to get a New York Knicks fan up here to tell us the truth of what's going on in the inner city.
Nephew,
yo, J-Rob.
Yeah. Make the phone call, boys. The streets say we back up, bro. That's what the streets is saying. Make a phone call.
How up are y'all though? I need to know your thoughts, emotions, and feelings on this trade. What does this mean for New York?
So honestly, like I thought this was going to be something that we was going to go for with Mikal Bridges, but I didn't think like the Brooklyn Nets would even be willing to do business with us on some like if the Clippers were to do business with the Lakers, like they just don't want to do business with their crosstown rival. 4 first-round picks, I'm not mad at it. If that's what you believe is what it takes to get a guy who moves the needle for you. If we win a championship in the next 3 years, we're not going to care about these 5 picks that was used. Championships are in gold and they are forever. And so if we have to make that move to get us a championship, who cares how much we traded to go get him? On top of that, I mean, if we gave up a pick in this year or next year's draft and the pick is a low first-round pick, I mean, how do you know that late first-round pick going to be a Jaime Jaquez or a Kyle Kuzma or whoever in the late rounds you could possibly get? You don't know that. There's no guarantees in that regard. So if this is what it feels, this is what you have to do to make that move, I'm all for it, no doubt about it. I'm excited. I really don't know if, obviously, I think a lot of teams are going to make a run at OG Anunoby. I don't know if we're going to keep Randle because I think we have to try to keep Harrenstein. But Mr. Brightskin is also going to command some bread as well. And when we look at Patrick last season, Mr. Brightskin, that's my guy. That's my guy.
Hey, real quick, J-Rob, before you go any further, I knew he was one of us. I knew it. I knew he was one of us. I knew it. And when I seen him pictures of his family, I was like, I knew it. I knew he was one of us.
That one drop. I
knew it.
Man.
I knew he was one of us.
Rule.
I didn't. That Hartenstein name, I wasn't buying that at all. I said that dude, he's one of us.
Yeah, he's definitely.
But somebody was sneaking in the slave quarters somewhere down the line. He one of us. I knew it. I knew he was. I knew it.
Ron's face right now.
Yo, that's crazy.
I knew it.
I think we might lose Hartenstein. If we are able to keep OG Anunoby, I mean, oh Lord have mercy. I think we potentially might be the best defensive team in the game. I love having, and I do think too, by having Mikal instead of bringing in like a Donovan Mitchell, I think the hierarchy is established still. Like JB still at the top, who's number 2, number 3, and I think everybody knows their role. I think if you add a Donovan Mitchell, you might find yourself in kind of that same situation that they had in Cleveland with Darius Garland. Kind of like, is it your basketball? Is it my basketball? Is it yours? I feel like with JB, it's not much of that situation. But I'm excited, yo. Like I'm really excited.
Does Mikal Bridges fit better with what y'all doing?
No question. And I do think with having the new established Villanova Knicks right now, I think the one other thing that is important for people to realize is the chemistry. I think the little intangible things like just playing for each other, doing the extra mile for each other, going through the an 82-game season. I think in terms of having a close-knit team, I think there might not be a more close-knit team than the New York Knicks, just because, listen, those guys won championships together in college, not one. Some of them got 2 together. I think Mikal or Josh only have one. Josh only has one. The other 3, they have 2 together. So I think all of those things matter. And listen, I'll say this. I think in some ways with the injuries that we had this past season, what we did in the second round of the playoffs, in some ways we kind of overachieved. You know, I think even throughout the season, us still retaining to have the second overall seed in the East with the injuries that we had, I think in a lot of ways we overachieved. We got a lot of moxie on this team. So I'm excited. And if giving up 5 first-round picks for a 2 to 3 year window to win a championship, I mean, listen, if Jalen Brunson is, 30? How old is he, 27, 28? If he's 30 when we win the championship, oh, well, you know, I think most players now are still in their primes in their 30s. So as what we've seen. So I'm excited, like ridiculously excited, actually. A lot of propaganda will be spewed for sure. No question. No question.
Yo, Ox, appreciate you for coming through. Before we hear your thoughts, Mars, talk to us, man. I know you have other things going on in the house. I know it's a lot going on in your mind right now. But talk to us specifically about this Knicks in Brooklyn deal.
Yeah, I'm gonna be as objective as possible. This deal, okay, I'm not gonna speak on Houston, but this deal doesn't happen without Houston. The only reason Brooklyn agreed to trade Mikal to the Knicks is because they'd already agreed with Houston that they were getting their picks back. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gone into this tank. So that's all I'm going to say on Houston. But this doesn't happen without Houston's involvement. But I think you put the poll out who won the deal, the Knicks or the Nets. I mean, I think there should be an option for both. I think the Nets got what they wanted to get out of this. They're now heavily in the Cooper flag sweepstakes for next year. They now control their future. They clearly have a direction. They aren't just trying to be the 10 seed so they don't give up a bunch of high level lottery picks. They're now actually trying to be one of the worst teams in the league. They have, I guess, Cam Thomas is their one building block right now. They can see what they want to do with Nick Claxton. They don't have to worry about how good they're going to be. They can just develop, be trash for a couple years and see where they go. And then on the Knicks side of things, the Villanova thing is cool. But now you got, I mean, the thing, if you're going to win with a small guard, you need lengthy wing defenders around them. That's what you need. You're going to need, the Warriors did it with Clay, Iguodala, Harrison Barnes, Draymond. Now the Knicks are going, we got Josh Hart, Mikal, OG, hopefully for them. Dante, like they're trying to build a similar thing in terms of if we got a small guard, we're going to need to have length on the wings who can defend. And the good thing for them is, I mean, Mikal has shown, I wasn't like high on his offensive game in Brooklyn, but he's shown he has capabilities. He can expand his game. And now you put him back in his role where he's most comfortable as a complementary piece where he can shoot the ball, he can attack a closeout, and he's got reps as an on-ball decision maker, which has just helped him just see the game in a different way. That's going to be great. And the best thing is his defense should get back to the levels it was before he went to Brooklyn as a number one option.
Thanks.
Because last year his defense was just not very good in my opinion. But I think that's just because he was in a role that overexerted him. And I think the second half of the season, I just don't even think he wanted to be there. So I think you're going to see Mikal get back to where he was or close to it defensively. And if they can keep Hartenstein and OG, I don't know like the finances and how difficult it will be. But if they can do that, it's them, Boston. I don't know. We have to see what Milwaukee does. And like Philly if healthy, but we know what that means. So it's really just Boston, the Knicks, and Milwaukee, depending on what they do out east. And all you want to do, like if you're the Knicks, you want to give yourself a shot. Now, there's no move that they can make that guarantees them a championship. And there's always going to be the risk that it doesn't work out. And now they've given up their future. And in 2031, Wemby Part 2 is in the draft and they can't get him because they're a bad team. And now the Nets get Wemby Part 2 because of a trade they made in 24. But the flip side is this works out and they win a ring and they don't mind not being good in 2031 because that championship is going to outweigh the fact that they've given up a draft pick or a couple draft picks. So, I mean, this is going to be a trade that's going to be viewed in hindsight. It's going to be if they don't win, this was a bad trade, and 3 years down the line, they've split up, and now the Nets have the Knicks future, and the Knicks are one of the worst franchises in the league. If it does work out, this was a great trade for both parties. The Nets got what they wanted. The Knicks got what they wanted. They're champions again for the first time since 73.
Since the year I was born, Mars.
73. Okay, yeah, 73. Yeah. I didn't want to mess up. 73. But even if they get back to the finals, first time since 99. So like, they've gone all in. They've invested. Now it's high risk, high rewards. And I think if you're a Knicks fan, I think you're happy. This is the first time I think the Knicks have really gone all in I think this is the first time the Knicks have really gone all in, unless you think what they did in like 2012 was going all in. But that even didn't last very long. So like this is the first time the Knicks have really gone all in a while. So I think this is great for the Knicks, and I think it's really great for the Nets. So yeah, I think this is one of those rare win-win trades. I don't think necessarily a team lost the trade. So I think both teams have done. And the Nets front office, I mean, I clowned them all of last year. Haha, we got your future. Haha, we're getting keep the flag. Hey, it turns out they got their future. So they chilling too.
Yeah.
So shout out to Sean Marks and whoever's in that Brooklyn front office for doing their job and getting their future back. So yeah, win-win for both teams, in my opinion.
Mars, can I ask you to grade since you said both teams won? Can I ask you to give each team a grade?
I think for me to give the Knicks a grade, I have to see if they keep OG and Hartenstein. I think if they don't keep them, the grade is lower. So for now, I'll give them a B plus. If they keep OG and Hartenstein, A plus. If they don't, I'll keep it at a B.
Can I ask you a question, bro? Just add one thing out there. What do you think the market right now looks like for a Julius Randle, especially if you're trying to clear up some money to like pay guys like OG and pay a Hartenstein? Because I think all of it has to do with finances, right? So do you think there's anybody out there that would be interested in Julius? Anybody?
First of all, why are we moving Julius Randle? That's number one. Number two, Mikal Bridges is cheap. That money that you were going to overpay for OG, you could keep that money. Number three, Randle at the 4 works for your unit because you basically got a bunch of dirty work guys. And on top of that, which is the most important thing, you got Randle on the cheap too. Randle ain't on the books for like $40 or $45 million. You got Randle on the cheap too. So you're not going to get back an all-pro 24-10 guy if you move off of Julius Randle. I'm not moving off of Julius Randle. No.
What if he's disgruntled by his role now? That's my issue. It's like, because the thing is, you know, I'm just thinking about the mental part of it. You know, I know Jalen Brunson has got a lot of the credit for like bringing the spark back to New York City, but Julius really was the one who, you know, kept us from flatlining. You know, he was all NBA. He was an all-star. He brought some of that juice back to the city. And I do think, you know, obviously Knicks fans we all have a bit of a gripe with Julius's performances in the playoffs, but we appreciate everything he's done to kind of, you know, keep the lights on, keep butts in his seats during his time when he got here. So, you know, it's like a double-edged sword as a fan. Like, it pulls on my heartstrings. I do care about Julius Randle. I do love what he did for us. But at the same time, he might be in a situation where, like, this thing is not operating for him to be a 27 a game guy anymore. 25.
I'm taking a page out of Ox book, and yo, get on our page, B. You see what we did without you. If we could get you, back in the bowl, how much better we would be. There'd be no reason for him to be the disgruntled. I need more shots, and no, because we already seen what we doing without you. We got a damn good team. You get on our page, you could be the difference in us really challenging for the NBA championship.
I don't think basketball works that way, man.
It can't work that way though, Pin, because that's what it has to be. It has to be like that, and that's what we talked about this last year with before when we didn't know when Julius was coming back or not. First of all, let me say, go New York, go. First of all, let me get that out the way. But for real, if Julius is on the time, he's on a short leash, in my opinion, J-Rod.
I agree.
You gotta come and be ready to be that guy that's shooting 13 shots a game. You gotta be ready to rebound your ass off, and you gotta be what you need to be getting ready for is being physical with Giannis. That's what we need you to do, Julius. You know what I'm saying? Because if you can't come and that be your job description, bro, you gotta go. Because like what Mars was saying, is this gonna be like the 2012 thing? This is the exact opposite of 2012 thing. If you ask me, and I'm the biggest Melo fan up here. But if, in my opinion, I think they should have kept building on what they had. You know what I'm saying? I think they should have kept building on what they had. And I think this is kind of a closer simulation of that with Danilo, Wilson Chandler, Amari, you know, just those guys. You know what I'm saying? I think this is that perfect time. It's time to let Jalen Brunson carry, find a way to keep OG, put Julius on the trading block if he's not ready to get with the program, and go get that championship. But I'm up here for a reason, y'all. I'm up here for a reason, and I got to speak for the little guy. What are we going to do about Bojan Bogdanović?
I knew,
we got to talk about the casualties. We got to talk about the casualties of war.
The casualties
of war. And my man Bojan,
Can we get a petition to get him up out of Brooklyn ASAP?
I mean, he might get a buyout.
He's for sure gonna be.
He'll get bought out. He'll get
He
bought
gonna be
out.
gone
He'll
by
get bought out.
Christmas.
Yeah,
Bojan
he'll get bought out.
Bojan went from the projects to the penthouse, back to the projects,
Back to the
in less than a
projects.
year, yo. God.
Hey, so chill.
If
He
he
went
got
from the
hurt,
slums of
him
Detroit,
getting
now he
hurt
in Harlem.
when the trade happened.
He
That's
Harlem,
exactly where he
too.
at. That's exactly where
No,
he
yeah.
No, he
To-
went from
to
the
stick on
slums of
this-
Detroit to Connecticut, then back to Harlem. That's what happened.
No, we
In a
got to
year,
talk
he
about
just
Julius
freaked all
Randle
the
for a
dough.
second, man, because y'all talking about two different Juliuses, right? On the one hand, you got Knicks fan over here, buddy who came on later saying like anyone want Julius? J-Rob, my bad. So
Good.
you talking about like, does anyone need Julius? And on the other hand, you got Chill saying Julius is underpaid. You saying he's on a great contract. You can't get all NBA player like this. So my question is two-pronged. Number one, which of these is true? Because he can't be both. Like I don't know who needs him. He's basically Zach LaVine in a bigger body versus he's on a discount contract. So I guess my question to you, Chill, is what's his open market right now? Forget about the 30 million he's making right now.
Right.
If Julius Randle is like free agent right now, he's joining OG Anunoby and all these guys. What's the team paying him right now? You see,
I think he's 28 or 29.
29.
So 29 years old.
Mhm.
Julius, well, he's coming off injury, so that's a little bit tricky. The fact that he's coming off injury, that's a little tricky. That may devalue him a little bit. However, on the open market today, I think Julius Randle commands anywhere between $35 to $40 million. I think he's close to, if not a max player.
I think Julius Randle going to China if
Julius
Julius
is
Randle
28 or
commands
29, you
35
said?
to 40.
No, he's not going to China, bro.
If
Well,
he commands
OG's
35
commands
to
him
40,
40.
there's not a single team in the league that would pay him 35 to 40, and I would bet money on that.
I just don't buy that at all because there's plenty of teams that could use a rough and rugged four-man like him who can score the basketball, clean glass, and run the offense through him. And don't get me wrong, it gets a little trickier in the playoffs, but we've seen teams plenty of times not just overpay. We're gonna see that with whatever team is gonna overpay for OG Anunoby. And Julius Randle is better than him. So the fact that Julius Randle is better than him, there are teams who will definitely overpay for a guy like Julius Randle.
I get what you're saying, where
like
he's
the New
better
Orleans
than him.
Pelicans, like the New Orleans Pelicans, for example.
The Pelicans trying to move off of the Pelicans trying to move off of Brandon Ingram. And
the reason why they're moving off of Brandon Ingram is because they've gotten everything that they're going to get out of him. Why are we talking about Brandon Ingram like Brandon Ingram just came into the league 2 or 3 years ago? Brandon Ingram been in the league 8 years. 8.
It's a year after
But
Julius.
he's still younger than Julius Randle. My point is
1 year, and they've gotten everything that they're going to get out of him.
I think what I'm trying to say here is like it's one thing to say this guy's better than this guy. You could say Mikal Bridges better than OG. Randle better than OG. You could say that for sure. And I get where you're coming from on that because it's a schoolyard way of thinking about this guy against this guy one-on-one. Who's better? Who does more with the basketball? Who's got bigger bag, etc.
Sure.
But on the basketball court, when I look at a guy like OG, I see an asset that every team could use, plug and play. When I see a guy like Julius Randle, I see a limited market. I see 3 teams at most ever need that guy. It's the same thing with Bradley Beal. It's the same thing with Zach LaVine. It's not as big a market for guys like that. Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, literally every single team could use this guy. So there's a two-way prong. There's a two-point argument on value. It's like, number one, what do you do? And number two, who needs you to do it? Right? It's like a guy.
I can get with that. I can get with that logic. Sure.
It's like Alperen Sengun, right? Alperen Sengun versus Jabari Smith over in Houston, right? I'll make an argument that Alperen Sengun is a way better player than Jabari Smith right now.
Yes.
But I'll make a case that every team could use Jabari Smith. That player type literally fits into every single team. But Alperen Sengun, you got to change the way you play. So
Well,
this logic,
just because you're better than a player does not mean you fit. I can get with that logic. Yeah,
value is not always equated to better, which is the Melo argument, right? Like every single team, any team that wanted Melo has to change everything they do to fit Melo, right? So it's like we say what the Knicks did right now. Hey, Julius Randle, are you watching?
That did not negate Carmelo Anthony being a max player, though. That did not negate him being a max player.
He's a max player, but if he's your max player, you're playing a certain way. I look at it that way. It's like with RJ.
But the argument is being a max player. Like, what is Julius Randle's value? So even though he might not have a tremendous amount of attention from other teams, there's still a team that'll pay him the max.
I get what you're saying. It's like honestly, like again, I cover the Raptors. We traded for RJ Barrett, right? Knicks fans, not a lot of positive stuff to say about RJ Barrett, right? But I just watched RJ Barrett for half a season, and I think he did things that I could only dream that OG Anunoby would do on the basketball court, right? He has a bigger bag. He's a more dynamic player. He's a more exciting player. He's a more fluid player and all that stuff. I still think OG's a way better player than RJ Barrett, right? It's just about like, what do you need? Because when you're playing with RJ, you got a lot of holes on your roster suddenly.
Wait, better player, or is he better at fitting somewhere else? You think he's a better player than RJ Barrett? If
I'm running an AAU squad and OG Anunoby is my star on one side and RJ is the star on the other side, RJ's team's better. But OG Anunoby fits into like better teams. He fits into every team, whereas RJ may not fit in. That's kind of my point. Like it's a nuanced argument. So it's really easy to say, look at what the Knicks did without Randle, and then think about, okay, well, if they bring Randle back, well, all that is gonna even be better. But that's the same argument the Boston Celtics had when they went to the Eastern Conference Finals with Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum. They were just like, oh shit, they hung up the banner. They're like, oh, we're gonna get Kyrie back. We're going to get Gordon Hayward back, and it's all going to be great. And it wasn't. You got the best point guard in the NBA back, and it wasn't better because you got to see.
That's a bad example.
I don't really think it is.
The reason why it's a bad example is because what Boston did last year, as opposed to what Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. First of all, Gordon Hayward was coming off injury, and he was injury riddled. Number two, Kyrie Irving, he still was trying to figure out what that leadership role was. So there was some dissension there. With this Boston Celtic team, which is already built to win a championship, what they did was they exchanged one thing for the other. I have Marcus Smart. I'm going to take Marcus Smart out the lineup, and I'm going to put Drew Holiday in, who's better for the exact thing.
To Boston Celtics team.
This is what I'm saying though. Because what you're telling me about OG Anunoby and RJ Barrett. Well, the same logic holds for Marcus Smart and Drew Holiday, off the strength that everything you do, I do better, and I'm a better fit for this unit. Same logic with Kristaps Porzingis. Everything that Robert Williams did, you're going to give up some of the defense, but you're going to regain some offense, and you're not going to lose all of the defense. So I think that's a bad example with the Boston Celtics, because even though Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum did get better, we replaced what we had with something better and a better fit.
No, what I'm saying is the concept of bringing back a guy and adding to something without taking away from what you're adding to. So with the Boston Celtics, when they went to the Eastern Conference Finals against LeBron James, they did it without Kyrie Irving, and they did it without Gordon Hayward. And people were like, shoot, you're missing $60 million off your roster. If you just add it back, you're going to be great. And I think the Knicks could look at themselves and they say, hey, we made it, one game away from the Eastern Conference Finals. We think we were right there. Let's just add Julius Randle back. But I'm like, yo, if you add Julius Randle back, what are you taking away? Now, you can say Julius Randle's a better player than Josh Hart.
Well, why do we have to take anything away, Penn? That's my question.
Because it's a 5-on-5 sport, and someone played those minutes that Julius didn't play.
That's where the sacrifice comes in, though.
Well, it's one
and
thing.
That's what we talked about with Julius Randle. And
well, no one's. I hope no one's calling Julius Randle selfish. I hope no one's calling Julius Randle selfish, because I don't think he's a selfish player. But he is a player. He's a high usage player.
Sure.
You get a guy. He's not about to stand around and set screens and crash the glass like he's Isaiah Hartenstein. He's a cog in your offense. Whether he takes 12 shots,
that's selfish. And you just described a selfish player. If you feel like that's not. See, that's the problem today. It's not just your game. Your game is basketball. That's the game. So you got to do basketball things to be a basketball player. If you can't set screens and rebound because your game is step back threes and trying to bully everybody to the rim, then you're a selfish basketball player, because what you're doing is detrimental to the basketball team.
But I don't need to tell you.
Can I add something else to that too? But can I add something else to that too? If Julius Randle does, let's just say his role does change with the Knicks, I do think I don't know how many years are left on his contract with the Knicks, but let's just say he is one more year. Okay, so he's
one guarantee.
One guarantee. Okay, cool. One more year guaranteed a player option. So I look at it like this. Let's just say he does have a different role now if he does stay with the Knicks. And he thrives in setting screens, being more of a pick and roll guy, running the floor more, being that type of player, being a physical defender, showing other elements in his game. Penn, it actually will make him more valuable probably going into free agency, his player option. Because I think, I'm using a way lesser example just because we're in NBA draft mode, and I'll just use a player from there. Stephon Castle. I think Stephon Castle rose up draft boards because of two reasons. At UConn, he was asked to play off the ball, and he was also asked to be the best perimeter defender on the team. Those are two elements of his game that people did not know he had because he was always on ball in high school. And now he's probably going number 4 to the San Antonio Spurs today. I have no doubt. I think he's going 4. I do. I think he's going 4 to the Spurs.
Like that, Damo?
You know,
can't hear you, Damo.
You do, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And Damo, we about to get into this.
It's a lot. It's too much going on with the draft.
Okay, but anyway,
we for sure about to get into the draft. No doubt about it. Y'all know what day it is.
I brought that up is because him showing those other aspects of his game made him more valuable, I think, in his draft style. And I look at it, Julius Randle. If he shows other things outside of just being that bull in the china shop, a physical scorer, a bit inefficient at times, being a volume guy, I think him showing those other aspects of his game, which I think he has all the capabilities of doing, I think not only would it make the Knicks value him more, he might get that, I'm gonna say closer to 30 to 40 instead of 35 to 40. Or somebody else in the league may see how he played with the Knicks this past season and be like, listen, I'm willing to throw some money at Julius Randle because he clearly does know how to be an adjustable piece for a winning basketball team.
He does he like you just mentioned him being a bull in the china shop, but he does those other things. Don't get me wrong. He might not be the most efficient offensive player, but he will set screens. He does play in the pick and dive. He does play in the pick and roll. He does back screen. He does pass the ball. He does those other things. I think that we highlight Julius Randle's mishaps where you see him complaining, when you see him on the bench, he gets animated from time to time, which takes away from the other stuff that he does. I'm not just going to be an all-pro and a glass cleaner like he is if I'm not doing the dirty work. And he does do the dirty work. It's just that the other stuff gets illuminated more than it should.
Okay, I'm just saying it. I think there's a misconception in a lot of NBA circles that I've listened to where they act like all this other stuff just is effort. That deflections, screens, all this stuff. This is a talent. You can't just choose to defend like Ben Wallace. Ben Wallace is a special player. The hand-eye coordination is real. Julius Randle is never going to be a shot blocker. He's not a shot blocker.
Which is crazy to me at 6'9". You can't defend.
But there's a lot of guys who are 6'11" in this draft that are coming up that are probably never going to block a shot a game. It's not about that. It's about timing. It's about your first jump, your second jump, your length, all of that stuff, your hand-eye coordination. What made Hakeem Olajuwon so great at blocking shots, right? It wasn't just height. He was about 6'9", 6'10". It's about the hand-eye coordination, the effort, and how you even track the ball like the way that he does. So I look at a guy like Josh Hart. I'm like, are you taking a defensive down? Like how you play with Julius Randle is totally different. You can say he's a good rebounder, but apart from that, he's not doing a hell of a lot for you defensively. And offensively, he's a very dynamic player, but maybe sometimes you need less dynamicism if you have more dynamic players on your team. And now you have Mikal Bridges, you have Jalen Brunson. So if you know what I mean, it's easy to say, okay, hey, Julius Randle, go be Jeremy Grant. Or go be Horace Grant, you know what I mean? Go to take that position, but it's he's not that player, and it's easy to say, okay, a little less from you is good, Julius, but it's he might not have that skill set. Setting screens is a skill. We watched it. You know who they asked to just completely change their game and completely mess them up? Ben Simmons, right? I'm not trying to compare Julius Randle to Ben Simmons, but they asked Ben Simmons, go out and set some screens. He picked up offensive foul after offensive foul. Guess why? Because he doesn't have that skill set. He don't know how to. I
don't think Julius has to change his game, though.
I don't think he does neither.
Look at this Knicks team. Other than Jalen Brunson, which they played a half a season together, they played the last year together. Basically, they played this whole season and they played a little bit last year too.
Yeah.
They did. They played 2 seasons together. Those 2 guys can mesh together. But look at the other guys that you got over there. Josh Hart is a high-level role player. He's going to play his role no matter what. Julius doesn't take away from Josh's game. He doesn't take away from Mikal Bridges' game, too, unless you're asking Mikal to come out and be a 27-point per game night like he was last year, and I don't think they're going to ask Mikal Bridges to do that. Dante DiVincenzo, he doesn't take away from him. Even if OG Anunoby comes back, he might take some minutes from OG, but he doesn't take away from OG's game. OG's game is to spot up on the perimeter and make straight-line drives and run the floor anyways. Yeah. He doesn't take away. As a matter of fact, they need Julius Randle. They need somebody who they can dump the ball down to. Yo, Julius, we need a bucket right now. Go get it. They need somebody with the second unit. You guys know I'm big on the second unit. You need somebody to be on the floor with the second unit that you can go to. Jalen Brunson, we know he is their top bucket getter. But when he's on the floor, what are you going to go to now? Dante DiVincenzo pull up threes? Like, yeah, he was shooting the shit out of it in the playoffs, but I would much rather.
In the regular season.
Yeah,
he was, but Mars, you know what I'm saying.
Give him his flowers. Give him his flowers.
I'm giving him his flowers, but we're not drawing up plays for Dante DiVincenzo to come and shoot pick and roll threes. Are we?
Okay, pick and roll threes. Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
pick and roll threes is different. Pick and roll threes is different than they actually run it. They run stuff.
Dante to get a three.
They get him involved in the O.
No doubt.
Absolutely do. Let's not talk about DiVincenzo like he's just a dirty work guy. No, he's definitely
he absolutely isn't. But I'm saying though, like as a second option though, it would be Julius Randle, undoubtedly. And I'm saying like I think that actually helps this team a lot. Remember, it was questions about their offense, and keep in mind this is without Mikal Bridges, but it's with OG Anunoby though. He was out there.
Yeah,
it was questions about where the Knicks are going to get offense from when Jalen Brunson isn't on the floor. If Julius is there, I don't think those questions are as loud.
And can I ask another question? You know, you said like defense, you feel like is talent, it's not effort. And I would say I actually kind of disagree with that to a degree. Now I think some guys have a better talent for defense than other players for sure. But I do think defense, a lot of it is effort though. You know, just moving your body, not thinking about yourself being, tired. And yes, IQ-wise, it does matter. Like, I think Draymond Green, as great of a defender, I think one of the reasons why he's such a great defender is just mentally how he understands and processes the game. But I look at it, Julius Randle, I think his effort can be maximized with this type of team because I think defense, one of the things about this team, the defense is going to be our identity. Being physical is going to be our identity. I think offensively we got better as well, but I think a lot of the things that we're going to be hanging our hat on is our ability to get stops and make things hard for our opponents. And I think effort has a lot to do with that.
I get what you're saying.
Because like Josh Hart, is Josh Hart really a crazy talent in terms of like his physical ability?
He's a dirty work guy.
He's not jumping higher than Russell Westbrook. But in my eyes, I'd say he's a better rebounding guard than Russell Westbrook. Westbrook got more talent than him. Josh Hart not jumping 40 inches. A lot of what he does is effort, just want to dive on that effort. That's just being a dog. I don't think that has to do with how much talent God put into you.
Well, what's that old quote? Oh, what's that old quote? Motor is a skill because if it wasn't, everyone would do it. Like your motor, like your internal, like how your ability to have gas at minute 37, that's a talent. Not everyone can do that. That's an actual skill, right? Your like your stamina, like all this stuff. It's not just stamina. It's literally motor. Like your ability to deflect. Like this is a talent. Like hand-eye coordination is a talent. Wingspan's a talent. It's one thing if like for instance, Julius Randle, go out and fight for your life and be the best defender you can be. OG Anunoby, sleepwalk. OG Anunoby's still a better defender. Physically, they're not that far apart, but there are certain advantages that OG has: lateral quickness, length. All that stuff, right? It's always gonna work. You talk about Draymond Green. Draymond Green, 6'6", but look at his lateral quickness, bro.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I do think there is an element to defense. There is an element, I think, of just pure effort. And I hear what you're saying when it comes to stamina, but these are pro basketball players that's playing the NBA.
But they're also playing against pro basketball players.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like Rob Dillingham, for the draft.
They're expected to be able to defend at a high level. Like that's your job description. You should be able to move your feet. You know what I'm saying? Like don't think
that's not completely the NBA job description anymore, though. I mean, a guy like Rob Dillingham, you coming in, Trae Young, Rob Dillingham, like you talking about like the worst. Anthony Simons,
Rob Dillingham.
The worst defenders in the NBA, honestly, like are the smallest guards, right? But I mean, what helps? Like we look at a guy like Donovan Mitchell, and Donovan Mitchell in college was a dog defensively, right? You step up a level, he's not a dog anymore. He's not a defender anymore.
But that's because he's demanded so much offensively.
That's fair, but it's also because once you step up a level, suddenly you being 6 feet tall is suddenly going to show up really big. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a game.
I agree with that.
It's a game of inches, right? Like
I agree with that.
The court has not gotten bigger. The players have gotten way bigger and way stronger, right? Like you got Shaquille O'Neal, and that was like the first time you ever seen that. Now you got Giannis Antetokounmpo, Victor Wembanyama. You know what I mean? Like you seen that clip of, you know, guys trying to go at Victor Wembanyama and just deciding to duck it. Like, yo, that's just inches, man. Like that's not effort. That's
focus, Mars. Focus.
I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything.
Focus, Mars. God damn.
I didn't say anything.
So
back to what you were saying about inches.
Inches. Pause. No diddy.
It's a game of inches. I would bust out my Al Pacino line. But what I'm saying is, like, you know, like you can get Trae Young to be slightly better. You can get him to participate. You can get Jalen Brunson to be better. You can get Julius Randle to be better. But they're never going to be OG Anunoby and Draymond Green.
Facts.
Like, so like, you know, it's like with Luka, right? Luka and Nikola Jokic are great examples of guys who physically are big, so they have advantages that guys like Rob Dillingham and Trae Young do not. So at the very least, just participate, rotate, close out, in control, don't foul, right? That's what you can hope for. Communicate, talk. Okay, that's the effort. But hey, Luka Doncic, go guard Ja Morant on a.
It's
on a
quiet. It's quiet. Yeah, it's quiet.
You're done. So there is the upper limit of what effort can get you, right?
Yeah,
so what you want to get is you want to get great defenders bought in. So when you say like Julius Randle better than whoever's saying Julius Randle better than OG Anunoby, it's like, yeah, in a sense, but for what you're trying to do, OG Anunoby makes a hell of a lot more sense. Because if your job is trying to shut down Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown on the other end in the Eastern Conference Finals, you're going to wish you had OG Anunoby and not Julius Randle on the court. I'm just saying.
All right, fellas, I got to step in and salute to everybody that's in here. It's a good day because it's NBA draft day.
Yay.
Also, it's a good day because it was a good trade last night. And then we got good potential trades on the horizon. Shout out to the Rockets. But also, we got super chats and whatnot, so I'm gonna get into that.
Oh, Ron, real quick. Keep going now. What did you just say? We got potential trades with who? I'm sorry, Ron. I'm gonna make sure I heard you correctly.
The good old Houston Rockets.
Okay, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly.
Yo, Mars, KD.
I don't know. It might be Booker too.
Mars, you might
be
getting KD. Mars,
get to the super chats, Ron. What the hell? Get to the super chats.
Mars, you might be getting KD.
Hey,
this man Ron is a terrible host. I go get this now.
You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? Mars has openly admitted that he is a slut for NBA teams.
100%.
Hey, chill. You know what's karma?
100%.
Your team gets the biggest slut in the NBA.
How about that?
Kevin Durant.
How about that?
All right. We'll get to super chat. Like the video if you haven't. Shout out all our new members and shout out to all of our subscribers too. And actually, you know I gotta shout out our Hall of Fame members. We got Kendall Daniels, Dorian Clayton, Mikal, Cobra, son of Raditz, and Jerry Allity, who will be up here tomorrow. Shout out to them.
On Thursday? Oh, nice.
Friday.
Yes, which
Hall of Fame Friday.
Which is not tomorrow.
Yeah, that's
tomorrow's Thursday, bud.
Yeah.
I'm in Europe right now. I'm a little bit ahead of you guys right now.
No problem.
There's nowhere in Europe is it Thursday right now, Ron.
China.
That's not in Europe, Ron.
Is it Thursday in China?
Oh,
say Australia.
That part of Europe. You're in the Chinese.
Yeah, my bad. I'm discombobulated. I was on a long flight last night.
Of course you were.
But I transported my setup though. It's nice.
I was wondering.
Gandhi KV2 said the Knicks are over the Boston Baked Beans, the Denver Chicken Nuggets, the Sacramento Queens, and Houston just stinks. Mikal, bring us home. He's the ultimate Tibbs guy.
Yes.
Yo, what delusional Knicks fans?
I don't know why he got sacked in Houston involved.
We ain't even make the playoffs. Leave us alone.
And they about to lose their point guard.
No, I don't think so. I think that's just De'Aaron using his think box and not something.
That's all he doing.
He can if he can get more money and like I think that shows that we actually have. I think it shows we have a smart point guard leading the charge. I don't want a guy that's just going to just randomly sign. Don't sign no extension until you know that this team is doing right by you. Don't waste your prime nowhere.
You sure about that?
Well, I'm not sure about anything. I don't know him.
And they got Malik.
They got Malik
on a discount.
They just brought Malik back. It's not like you're not just gonna let your brother sign 4 years without letting him know, like, hey, I'm about to shake. You know what I'm saying? So you never know. I think if De'Aaron was about to get out of there, I don't think Malik would take less money to stay in Sacramento. He could have got paid somewhere else.
De'Aaron Fox to the Miami Heat.
That would be dope for Miami. I would love that for Miami, honestly. I wouldn't like that for Sacramento, but that would be fire for Miami.
Or De'Aaron Fox signs an extension with the Sacramento Kings. They get back on track. How about that for an idea, Ox?
That could happen. That could happen. Anything is possible. But I'm just happy that he's using his stink box and not just signing his prime, not signing his prime away. Don't just sign your prime away unless you know.
I agree with that.
You know how many times we can see people go out like that? Like, nah, don't do that, De'Aaron. Not even for us, especially not for us.
Mm-hmm. Nonetheless, y'all got Davion. You've hyped him up so much. So worst come to worst,
Don't go there. Don't go there.
Gandhi KV2 said Mikal always kills Tatum, Chilltown.
Really? If I'm not mistaken, I think this season that just passed, I don't know the exact numbers, but I did see, I think he went for 35 against Brooklyn and he beat them. I think they beat them in the last game that I watched him play, because Leaf got on my case because he hates to see Tatum get busy. And he got busy against him. I think he went for 35 against Mikal Bridges and they smoked Brooklyn. So let's kill that logic right now. That's not true.
Gandhi KV2 said OG and Mikal, best defensive pairing since.
Here we go, J-Rob.
Drew and Derek White right now.
I ain't gonna lie. Mars probably said it. Mars probably just said it.
The delusional Knick fan.
It's getting too crazy.
Like, it is an elite defensive pairing, but we're not gonna act like it's just something we haven't seen.
But I ain't gonna lie. We excited, yo. Y'all gotta understand this franchise. We've been through a lot, y'all. We've been through a lot.
Right.
So
Man, we about to see Caruso and Lu Dort. I ain't trying to hear that.
I was gonna say Caruso, and Lu, but I want to be.
I mean, yeah. That's
Y'all are nasty, bro. Come on. This
that's a good pairing. That's a good pairing too.
Mikal and OG cleared all of these.
Right?
We
Let's
have
do
the
this.
most sides.
Rank them 1 through 4 as defenders. So Mikal, OG, Caruso, and Lu Dort. Rank them 1 through 4 as defenders.
I think I would go Mikal. I think I would go Mikal, OG, Caruso, Lu.
I
probably go Caruso. I go Caruso 1. I probably say Caruso 1. I go OG 2, Mikal, and then Dort 4. I'm only ranking the 4 of them, right?
Yeah, those 4.
Yeah. I'll go Caruso at 1 though.
I'm gonna go Caruso 1. I'm going OG 2. I'm going Dort 3, and then I'm going Mikal 4.
Chill.
I'm going Caruso 1, Mikal 2, Dort 3, OG 4.
Pen.
Really?
I'm going with the guy that went before Chilltown. So I'm going to go Caruso, OG, Dort, and then Mikal.
Ron?
I mean, Lou is the only one that I've seen kind of make Luka look.
Come on now.
That's his OG. OG didn't get a hold of.
That's the litmus test. How do you defend Luka?
He looked the best out of all of these guys against Luka. But I'm gonna go. I think Caruso's the obvious one. And then if Mikal's actually playing, the Mikal that we know, and I think he could get back to that level. So I'm gonna say Mikal 2, OG 3, Lou 3, OG 4.
OG 4 is so wild to me.
Okay, I'm gonna change my. Okay, can I change my answer? I'm gonna put OG first. I'm gonna put OG first. I'm gonna flip my answer. OG, then Alex Caruso. Yo, do you understand that this guy guards 5 positions?
Yeah,
I watched this guy guard Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic, and then switch on to Ja Morant like the next night. Like I don't understand. Like positional versatility is so important defensively.
I'll take OG over Lu Dort. That's as far as I'm going.
In order to not put Mikal last, you like Ron said, and that's how I don't mind Ron said, you have to believe Mikal's getting back to what he was a couple years ago. Because the Mikal we've seen in Brooklyn is undoubtedly lost. He's not even in this conversation. So you'd have to just assume he's going to get.
I don't think he's unmotivated. I think it's just a different role he was playing. He was more so. You know, they had other guys doing that for him. Yep. I think Mikal's still.
I don't know if they had other guys doing that.
No, I don't think so.
Mars, you don't go from being a runner-up for defensive player of the year to falling off a cliff.
He never should have been. He never should have been the runner-up for defensive player of the year in the first place. That 22 defensive player of the year, they just messed everything up. I don't know why they messed it up like that. They wanted to give a wing.
But Mars, though, it does show to the level of defense he was playing, though.
Right.
Yeah, he was elite. He was elite. Yes, he was elite.
Being elite, being defensive player of the year is two different things. But he still was in that upper echelon of, getting the respect that he deserved.
And that's why I said, if
number
you
one
think
in
he can
matchup
get back to
difficulty in
that
the NBA?
level,
And I do, Mars. I do.
I ain't gonna lie.
I do.
I do.
I think he can get back to that level.
Okay, I trust
Okay, then that's
coaches
fine.
that actually coach these players a lot more than I trust myself. So, who do you think over the last 2 years is like number one in the league in matchup difficulty?
Either
If I had
OG
to-
or Mikal.
I'd probably say
OG.
I'd guess the highest in the league would be like the Lu Dorts, OG.
It's OG.
Caruso would be up there.
And
But
matchup
do you,
literally
do you know like the top five? Do you know,
Matchup
like, top
difficulty,
five, or you just
basically,
know OG?
what is the context of
OG
your
is not a
defensive
better
assignment?
on-ball defender than Alex Caruso. I'm not buying that.
How do you even
No.
track that? How do you even track that, Morris?
Yeah, he's gonna explain it.
Hold on,
go ahead.
He's gonna
No,
explain
I
it.
get what you're
Okay.
saying. I get what you're saying, Chill. So what I'm saying is, at what Alex Caruso does, Alex Caruso is better than OG.
Sure.
Uh-huh.
But what OG can do on a night-to-night basis across 82 games is he sticks on the best player, regardless of whether it's Joel Embiid, whether if it's Jason Tatum, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, John Morant, you're putting him on the best player. Now, when your assignment is so diverse, you're going to suffer on the overall consequences. You're going to have blow-bys. You're not going to have as high steal numbers. Defenses always play 5-on-5. It's always the team context, right? So you put OG on New York, like with Isaiah Hartenstein next to him, and you put some defensive, oh my gosh, people were really talking about defensive player of the year stuff with him, right? So that's where I'm like, yo, OG in the proper context versus any of these guys, OG is the best defender. Because to me, it's like,
can you
even if
explain the matchup difficulty thing?
so basically a matchup difficulty comes down to it's like a standard deviation of like what is the average player and how much better is the player you guard than the average player in the NBA.
Sure.
So it would be like on a scale of 0, -1, +1. +1 is like
no. That's I understand that. I want to know how do you measure matchup difficulty? Chill. I understand all that.
He understands what it means. Like, how hard is a
I want to
matchup?
know how do you figure out
How do you make it an objective number? Is what you're saying.
Is it because the better play would it be? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Keep going.
Should these just be made up stats?
That's what it sounds like because it is because
Well,
it sounds like
I mean, a lot of stats are made up in terms of what they value.
What I'm saying is it just like you just mentioned the matchup difficulty. Of course, if OG Anunoby is having to cover Giannis, well, he's gonna give up more than having to cover a lesser player, and it's gonna look different. As opposed to if he's covering somebody who he's going to have a better matchup against. Like if he's covering DeMar DeRozan, okay, he's going to have more success against DeMar DeRozan than he's going to have against Giannis Antetokounmpo. Sure, I definitely get that. I definitely get that. But to your point about, because it sounds like what you're telling me, Penn, is versatility is high on your list, which I'm all for that. 100%.
It's part of the equation.
Sure,
right?
Well, I 100% get that. But when we live in a league where I have to listen to guys talk to me about how much better perimeter players are than box players, and in terms of that, and I think about who Alex Caruso has to deal with on the perimeter on a night-to-night basis, how do I value that more than OG Anunoby switching on to Antetokounmpo for plays, not the entire game. That's not his matchup all night long. That's in the second quarter for about 3 or 4 minutes, as opposed to Alex Caruso. I got to deal with Shai all night. I got to deal with Jalen Brunson for the majority of the night. That's who I have to deal with.
But the modern NBA, like everything is going to come down to switching, cross matches, transition, etc. The reason that it's so hard to play against a team like the Indiana Pacers is how quickly they push the pace on you and how often you end up in a really, really awkward matchup where you have a point guard guarding a center down low and you're just screwed because they ran it down your throat so quickly, and you suddenly have a Miles Turner poking up in the post against a Jalen Brunson. You know what I mean? So when you have an OG Anunoby, there are no mismatches. There's literally not one player in the league that I could say, oh, that's a clear mismatch for OG. That is a variable that you as a team can solve for, which means the other team cannot ever force a cross match in transition. They can never force the switch. They can't do to him what they do to Rudy Gobert every single playoffs. They can't do to him what they do to Donovan Mitchell. They can't do to him what they do to Jalen Brunson or Emmanuel Quickly or any of these guys.
Why is that ridiculous though, Penn, when a guy gets going? Because we've seen guys get going, and no matter who's covering them, it doesn't make a difference. Once they get going, it's pretty difficult for them to deal with. Now, don't get me wrong. I appreciate your logic with OG Anunoby being a difficult defender and making it hard on guys. But if a guy like Jason Tatum got going where he made 2 or 3 in a row, he's going to make it even more difficult on OG Anunoby, where we're going to him regularly. If De'Aaron Fox got going where he made 3 or 4 shots in a row, OG Anunoby ain't doing nothing to slow that down. He's not doing anything to slow that down.
I think he is, man. And honestly, like I watched OG for 6 years. I watched him in Indiana, so I covered this guy real close. If anyone ever wants to go back and just study like what OG does when he's really dialed in outside of the Knicks context, go back to game 1 last year, the Raptors versus the Minnesota Timberwolves, and look what he did to Anthony Edwards. Possibly Anthony Edwards' worst game of the season. Like I never saw this guy struggle this bad. And Anthony Edwards is a very dynamic player. My point is there's about 150 players in this league that I think Alex Caruso cannot guard. And he will never guard those players. He's not going to guard Julius Randle in the post. He's not going to guard Joel Embiid. He's not going to guard Nikola Jokic. And that's fine. So in the context of what Alex Caruso is, which is a guy who can guard 1 through 3, he's awesome. He's great. Right. Mikal Bridges, same thing. But Mikal Bridges is not guarding Julius Randle in the post. That's easy money, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, we can underrate OG, but understand that there is a reason why there are GMs willing to pay this guy $40 million. So when we look at him objectively, you know, there is a value to having a guy that cannot be hunted. He is unhuntable. You cannot find any player in the league where it's like, oh, OG, give me the ball. That's easy. No, nothing.
That sounds to me like how many? So in your estimation,
it's him and Draymond. Draymond.
What about Herb? What about Herb?
So wait. So is that if that's the case, is OG Anunoby the best defender in the league?
No. But
why not? Because I can't be hunted. I can't be.
So he's an apex predator. You just told us.
He's one of the 5 most valuable defenders.
Okay. When there's a difference between keep going. I'm sorry. I apologize.
When we say valuable, it's valuable in the team context. It's the same thing that I said about, okay, Julius Randle, better player, OG's more valuable. RJ's probably a more dynamic offensive player, OG's more valuable. The value comes down to team building philosophy. How many different lineups can he fit into? How many different positions can he play offensively and defensively? How does he provide space for the other guys on the court? OG can spot out from everywhere. We just saw with PJ Washington what limitations get hunted in the playoffs, right?
Sure.
PJ Washington's decision making not so great. PJ Washington can't shoot from above the break. And guess what? PJ Washington, you are now an above the break shooter. You get all the above the break threes, and you're going to lose your team a series, right? So your weakness is going to become what the other team spams. Rudy Gobert. You can't guard at the level of the screen. So guess what Luka is going to do? He's going to put you at the level of the screen. He's going to force you to guard him, dance with him, step back, 3, bang. That's your series. That's your season. So what I'm saying is to have a player that doesn't have that weakness, where to think of it this way, OG Anunoby is an 80% defender on every matchup at worst. He is a good defender on everybody. Alex Caruso is great on some people and terrible on some people. So if you just watch Alex Caruso in his context, he's going to be better than OG. Just like if you just watch Rudy Gobert in his context, but when you put those guys out of context, which you can, they're going to be worse. So it's a debate for you to have within yourself. Do I want a guy who is utility? Anyone I stick him on, he's 80th percentile, but he's going to be injured a little bit. Or do I want a guy where he's going to be 100th percentile on the centers and power forwards, but if I put him on a point guard, he's a fish out of water. I think that's a question for you to ask, and that's the difference between Alex Caruso versus OG Anunoby. Alex Caruso is a better defender in his context, but with OG, there is no context.
So you value guys like Herb, Jaden McDaniels, OG way more
I value them as a
like
part of a defensive scheme.
Okay.
It's like the same thing with the Boston Celtics. I value Jason Tatum's versatility a lot.
That's what I was about to say. That sounds like that's where your stance is. It's more versatility, more than it's a guy who does something specific. And if I do something specific, it's more difficult for me to build around you, as opposed to if I got a guy who's more versatile, he's more plug in and play. I can get with that logic. Sure, I absolutely can. But if we're doing that, then that means that these guys who are more versatile, if they're more valuable, does that make them better players or no?
No,
I didn't think so.
Value comes. If you go on eBay right now and you're gonna pay like $20,000 for this rare edition of a video game, is it better than the common edition of the video game because it has some wrinkle on the side? No, it's just because there's 5 of them, and that's why OG is so pricey, because there aren't a lot of him. There's 5 players like this in the whole league, and the teams that have them don't usually give them up. So but it is a valuable building block for
you get offense with them too.
I just feel like Mikal,
all
of those things that you say about OG Anunoby, I feel like Mikal Bridges does all of that stuff.
He can't guard a big. He cannot guard a big. And honestly, last year, like, okay, theoretical Mikal 2-3 years ago, 4 years ago, yes, he is like 80% of all that stuff you're talking about. But man, I cannot imagine Mikal guarding a big and doing a really good job at it. I've seen him guard, Scotty Barnes, who's not necessarily a big, but a really big wing, and get cooked on that matchup. So I'm just saying, like, it's not nearly. It's just, to me, it's like the Boston Celtics gave you the formula. That is the perfect defensive formula. You have point of attack, you have rim protection, you have versatility. You got the versatility with Jason Tatum. When Kristaps Porzingis was out, Jason Tatum didn't mind switching over to the 5. That's versatility that Jaylen Brown does not give you. But now Jaylen Brown, with those quick hips, he can go and guard point guards full court, 94 feet. That's very valuable. And then Jrue Holiday, he can plug up all the gaps. Suddenly your passing lane isn't as open. And you got Derek White, who's suddenly able to guard at the rim. And then you got Kristaps Porzingis coming back, and he's just like a massive like rim stuffer. But you put Kristaps Porzingis and in Jason Tatum's position, he's cooked. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like, you got Jason Tatum, from a team building philosophy, he can do more stuff, but he can't do it better than Jrue Holiday. But he can do more stuff. He can guard a wing. He can guard a point guard. And it's like, to me, you have a guy like that, it makes it very, very difficult for the other team to build an offense to disrupt that, because you have this one guy and he can do it all defensively. You know what I mean? He may not be able to do anything elite, but it's really good all the time. That's consistency. That's the woman you don't leave. That's what I'm saying. That's the woman you don't leave.
What I do want to say is, and you're actually kind of right about that, Pen, because it's at the point where Knicks, are you going to leave him or are you going to sign him? No, what I do want to say is, we comparing these two guys, and the Knicks potentially have an opportunity to bring OG in and pair him with Mikal Bridges, or re-sign him and pair. And these two guys both be on the same team with the Josh Hart, with potentially a Mitch or Dante DiVincenzo. That's about to be scary if they do that.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm really excited for the season, bro. OD.
If they keep OG and Mikal, that's crazy. That's a crazy good team.
So do they need to sign OG back again? Like, is it mandatory?
100%.
He's priority, bro. He's priority. Like, we have to bring him back.
If they don't, then they're the same team they were last year.
No, they're not.
I don't believe that, though. Yeah, I don't believe that, Ron.
If they bring back, the thing about it is it's too much in the air. The fact that we got to debate it is too much in the air. When you could just do what you got to do to bring OG back, and then you're definitely better than you were last year. What's the point? What's the point of staying in the same tier? You don't look replacing OG with Mikal does not jump you tiers. It might move the needle. But you're still in the same tier. You bring OG in with Mikal, then you go from tier B to tier A. You're secured in that tier.
But they're also not done making moves yet, though. Because again, they're supposed to be moving Mitchell Robinson. Who knows what they can get back for him? If that's draft capital, if that is a role player or two from a team that we're just not suspecting, and that makes them deeper. If they're able to find their Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington on some fodder team we're not thinking about, because they were able to move Mitchell Robinson, I think them doing that, not bringing back OG, but having a Mikal still puts Mikal Bridges, it still puts them in a tier that they weren't in before. I still think that puts them a step up compared to just having what they had last year. With Julius Randle coming back, seeing what they can do, I like this move. I don't think this is a situation where it's you have to bring OG back for you to definitively be better. No, I think getting Bridges makes them a tad bit better. It makes them better. I'll say this. Maybe it won't make them a tier better, like you said, Ox. Maybe it doesn't go from B to A, but it definitely, to me, B plus A minus, very close to A minus, depending on what they do with role players going forward. But getting Bridges, B plus for sure.
Okay, well, what I'm saying mostly though, Damo, is that's fine. Obviously, I always say that there's more than one way to skin a cat. This isn't the only answer. So if I went too far saying that you have to do that, I more so meant in the sense of like, why do something else? You can do something else, and there's plenty of options. Don't get me wrong. It's just, what is it, 450 players in the NBA. I know you can make other moves. I know they're talking about coming off of Mitch and having Hartenstein be the starting big. There's options. I understand that, Damo, but why? Why not just keep OG? And you don't like Penn just said. Don't leave her and let her go make another dude's life peaceful and happy and better, and let her make sure that your taxes is in order and everything. Keep her home. Yeah. She know how to hook up a steak. You know what I'm saying? Massage your feet. She do all the stuff. Why let her go? Keep OG home.
She don't.
Halliburton do need some home cooked meals.
Your mic went off.
Oh, then I am muted.
Now you hot.
Because it's simple. Because it might not be worth it in the long run for what you have to give up to be with that woman. You might have to give up a lot to be with that woman. You might have to put up with a lot of stuff you don't want to put up with to be with that
peaceful.
woman.
I said peaceful, Damo. Now,
again,
he's a low maintenance player, man.
No, he isn't. He stays beat up.
No,
he's not. He stays beat up. That's a car that always breaks down. The car looks great, but it's always breaking down. That's not low maintenance.
Low maintenance player, but that man wants high maintenance money.
I'm tired of hearing this. It's fact check time. OG Anunoby has played more than 70% of all games since his rookie season.
Twice in the last 5 years, he played 60 games. That's it. That's a fact.
Two of the years had below 82 games.
There's context. No, hold on. There's context here. He picked up COVID, right? That's not an injury. He had his father passing away. That's not an injury. He missed time for that. The Raptors were tanking. So look, I'm saying this guy, like, I watched this guy live many times. Like, he works harder than pretty much anyone, okay, on the basketball court. I swear to God, there's a puddle forming. Anytime this guy stands for 2 seconds, there's a puddle forming around him. He is one of the hardest working players. I guarantee you right now, if he plays 60 games, he's working harder in those 60 games than most guys are working in 95 games, okay? I'm not his agent. I'm just putting it out there. He's a really good player.
You are a little bit more, to be honest with you, you are a little bit more subjective when it comes to him because you covered him more. So I watched the guy. I watched the guy for 7 years, and we lost him.
TSN.
No,
I can appreciate that. But to Ox's point, to talk about bringing back OG Anunoby, I don't want to devalue OG Anunoby. OG Anunoby is an all-league defender. He is elite. But if I can replace him with a guy who fits better in my system. Not only does he fit better, he is a better player, and I get him for cheaper. And on top of getting him for cheaper, I can also focus on another problem that I have, which is my 5 spot. If I can focus on that, I'm going the other way.
What's the problem?
We're not talking about the real thing here. The real thing is
they have to resign him. That's what I'm talking about. I think they're going to lose him.
The Knicks built up an asset base to trade for a star all these years, man.
Nah, I'm good on Mitchell Robinson.
This what I want to ask.
Talking about Hartenstein.
This is what I want to ask y'all. Then chill. Then who are these guys that y'all talking about? Who are these guys that we're going to go and get that fit better than OG?
I'm already on the fence. I'm already on record saying that the Knicks dropped the ball 2 years ago. Your starting 5 man is in North Carolina. That's who you're starting 5 man.
Right, but that's
100%.
Yeah, Mark, I understand that's over and done with now, chill.
Not you,
you Damo.
Yeah, so that's you, Damo.
Damo had a whole team in the cloud.
But your starting 5 man is in Charlotte.
That's over and done with now, chill.
Right, it is. It 100% is. So now you got to shore up the 5 spot.
Everybody's already home. Now it's time for the GM to do his job and make it happen. Now, if you gotta lose somebody, if somebody gotta go, if you ask me, it's gotta either be Mitch or Hartenstein. It's gotta be one of those two. Preferably, honestly, and I love Mitch, but preferably Mitch.
Preferably Mitch.
You know what I'm saying? Preferably Mitch. And on top of that, chill, we still got a guy in Julius Randle that we can get pieces from. We can get pieces for Julius Randle. I just don't see why would we even consider letting OG go if we don't have to. You got to give up something to put yourself in a dominant position. If you let him go, you just don't let OG go. Is my point. Because with OG, they are the best team in the East.
No, they not.
Second. Why?
No, they are
You
not.
gotta
They're
give it
not
to
better than
Boston.
the
You gotta
Boston
give it to
Celtics.
Boston.
I don't got to give it to
better than
Boston. I
Boston
do not got to give it to
Why?
Boston. I
Not better
do
than the
not.
Boston
I
Celtics.
do not.
Get outta
Because
here
this
with
team,
that, man.
this team healthy.
You're the same one that just told me.
I don't care. I don't care who. I don't care
a
who I
year
am.
ago.
What I'm saying
You're the
is,
same one that told me a couple of months ago that the Boston
Uh-huh.
Celtics are about to run off a bunch of different championships. But now you
Yeah,
add
that was
Mikal Bridges
before. That was before
and
they
you
traded
add
to
OG
Mikal
Anunoby. So now the New York Knicks are the
Chill.
best team in the
See,
Eastern
Chill,
Conference.
that's your
Get
problem.
outta
That's
here
your
with that,
that's your
Ox.
problem,
No,
Chill.
we
That's
ain't
your
doing
problem,
that.
Chill. That's your problem, Chill. You make a take and you stand on it, even if things change. Things change, Chill. You gotta.
OG Anunoby is that much of a difference?
Oh yes, he is. Oh yes, he is. The best, like Chill.
Yeah.
When OG got to the Knicks, my whole thought process changed.
No, it didn't. Bojan was the one who pushed you over the top. Ox.
No,
it did not.
My whole
Bojan was the
process
one when they traded for
yes,
Bojan.
Yes, Chill.
You
Hold
said
on.
that Bojan was the guy.
I
So it
don't
wasn't
need
OG. Don't do that.
I don't need nobody to misquote me because I know what I said.
And I heard you too.
When OG got traded to the Knicks, that's when I was like, damn, okay, the Knicks are serious. When that happened, I said the Knicks can now compete with Boston. They can compete with any team. When Bojan and Alec Burke got there, I'm like, okay, now the bench is showed up. This might be the best team in the East.
No, that's not what you said. You said they were the favorites. That's what you said, Ox.
No. I said they might. Okay, well, you can tell me what I said, Chill. What I'm trying to tell you.
I was there. I'm listening to you. I'm not misquoting you.
Well, I said it. So what I'm trying to tell you now is that things change, Chill. And they just went and got Mikal Bridges on top of everything I said. Mikal Bridges clears Bojan Bogdanovic. Mm-hmm. So now that they got him instead, why would we switch that up if we don't have to? That's all my point.
Because you're
so
gonna
sometimes you got to overpay to win championships.
Okay,
You're not
hold on. You didn't trade Mikal Bridges for OG Anunoby. You traded Mikal Bridges for a whole bunch of draft picks, and that's the thing.
Yes, you did.
Right now, the Knicks have always had this thing of I'll call it an ace in the hole, right? That the minute they got close, they were going to be in the hunt for the star. Okay, y'all just traded for your star. Yeah. This is not the time to get rid of all your star accessories. Okay, OG Anunoby is a must for them because they are all in. Those draft picks are not coming back. Brooklyn is not getting. If you're all in, OG Anunoby does not disrupt anything. I guarantee you, he does not. He doesn't need a single shot, and that's one guy. You have all these mouths to feed. All these mouths to feed. You need a guy to be able to do his job at a high level, and provide space for all your other players to do what they're going to do. You can't just be throwing out randoms out there. Deuce McBride. I like Deuce McBride, but I don't know what he's going to give me on a 99 basis. I need OG there. So look, man, I'm a Raptor fan. Obviously, like I would like for OG to be, happy, and I want him to get paid, and I want him to be in a position where he's.
After this, Ox, we gotta move on. Go ahead.
But Pin, you gotta look at it the way this way too, because I'm thinking about it like who just won the championship? The Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown. Now we got Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown. As much as I like those guys, they're not gonna have an easy time with Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. That's more so to my point. It's like, why don't that duo on the wing is the perfect matchup for those two guys. So now you got OG and Mikal to match up with Jalen and Jason. Then you got Josh and Dante to match up with Drew and they can bring some of the same things that Derek and Drew are bringing. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, think about the depth.
This New York team is the team to match up with the champs. That's mostly to my point. I don't see you let go of OG, then you lose that. You lose that the I don't want to say that, but you lose
the umph.
Yeah, thank you. You lose that on your wing. I just don't want to let that go. I feel like that's something the Knicks will regret for a long time.
You know what the other benefit of this is? Look at your bench right now. If you bring OG back, right? Look at your bench. You got Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo coming off your bench. Because I'm assuming Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Julius Randle, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Jalen Brunson are starting. That means Josh and Dante coming off your bench.
I don't think Josh
that's
Hart
a really. You don't see Josh Hart coming off the bench?
He's a rotation.
Either way it goes, that goes more to your point, Pin. Somebody got to come off the bench.
Somebody does have to come off the bench, though. Somebody does have to come off the bench.
I love Josh Hart.
I just think
J-Rob,
Josh Hart didn't
question real quick. I want you to keep going. How do you feel about Josh Hart coming off the bench?
I mean, I'm fine with it. Don't get me wrong. I don't think Josh Hart is the type of player where, like, if he's coming off the bench, he's going to be in the office screaming at Tibbs, like, why am I not starting? I don't even think that matters to him. I think he only cares about winning basketball games. I truly do believe that. I just feel like Hart is like, no pun intended, he's the heart of our team. I think he does a lot for us. And so I just feel like, I don't think, knowing Tibbs' personality, the way he coaches, I don't think Tibbs has the courage to put Josh Hart on the bench. That's where I think, I think that's really what it comes down to.
Even though that was going on last year.
That's comes on the bench is fun.
So who
that starting five would be Brunson, Hart, Mikal at the 3, OG at the 4, and Hart
on the bench.
I don't really think Randle's gonna be back. I want him to come back, but I don't think he's coming back, y'all. I don't think he's gonna be. I don't know.
Until further notice, he's coming back because
he's here right now. As of right now, I mean, I guess you probably can't.
I
guess Randle's on the team. I guess Josh Hart would have to take that.
Brunson at the 1, DiVincenzo at the 2, Bridges at the 3, Randle at the 4. Shore up your 5 spot, and you got
so OG off the bench.
No,
I think you're losing OG.
Oh,
okay. We're losing. I think we're losing one. I think we're losing.
I'm thinking you're losing OG.
I think Mitchell and Julius are probably the ones that we would lose. But if Julius is there,
I know we got to go, Ron. Go ahead.
Yeah, my bad. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah.
My bad.
And I mean, this has been a good ass topic. We didn't talk about the Knicks for an hour and 45 minutes and just the landscape of the league right now. That was dope. But y'all, it's a jam-packed day because we got a lot to talk about. But my man J-Rob just sent this over to me. Could potentially be breaking news, maybe not. But you be the judge of that. As of right now, the Warriors are prepared to offer Paul George a 4-year max deal.
It's a good move.
How are we?
4-year max for Paul George. How much is that? Is that over 50 a year? Like, is that 200?
Let me ask you this:
like I said,
unashamedly,
go get that, Paul. Go get that.
Yeah, Paul George. If a team's offering you a 4-year max,
go take it. You have to.
You have to take it.
There's no way I say no to that. If he did say no to that, something wrong with him.
How can Warriors afford that? They're gonna have to get off Wiggins and Chris Paul and James Walken.
They're cutting Looney.
Someone Google how old Paul.
They're cutting Looney too.
34. Yeah. That's the other thing. And
they just picked up.
I know this sounds nuts because I'm on Penn Page, just so you know.
Okay.
Next year in the playoffs, during the playoffs, Penny turns 35. I just want to put that out there. Next year during the playoffs, he turns 35 years old.
Who? Paul George?
Yes. Next year.
How old is Steph Curry?
That's not
how old is Kevin Durant? I'm saying
Curry will be 37.
Chill. I'm saying how old is Jimmy Butler? What I'm saying is some dudes can perform at 36, 37. We see one dude at 38 doing.
I don't think dudes are old till 38 now, chill.
Yeah, it's a little different.
They are playing longer.
37, 38.
They are playing longer now, chill.
All I'm gonna say is
this is them playing the short term game. That's what this is. Yeah. They tried to balance the long term and the short term with the Kuminga, Poole, Moody, that thing. That didn't work because Draymond want to punch people and all of that stuff. So then they packed up Jordan Poole and then they kept Kuminga, and Kuminga developed and started getting more PT this year. Podziemski came in. They started playing TJD more. They've got Moody's getting more minutes, etc. But they ended up being, what were they in? 9 seed, 10 seed?
Yeah, the Warriors are basically vanilla ice.
So now they're trying to go back short term,
milking out one hit, right? Like what are they doing at this point?
They're trying to get one more.
They're trying to get one more. They're trying to sneak one more
chip, man.
That's a good move. That's a good move. I like.
They're trying to maximize. They're trying to maximize the Steph timeline.
Right.
That's what the downside is, Mars. That's the downside right there. When you're aging star, he's still awesome, but the other dudes that's with him, they going the other way. So you're in a bit of a quagmire.
They're sacrificing the post Steph life to try and maximize the with Steph life. And so 3 years from now, they're going to be cooked. Yeah, 3 years from now, they're going to be cooked.
Mm-hmm.
But if their aim is to try and sneak one more, get another run. Yeah. If they can get a 5th championship, they'll live with being poverty for the next 6 years. Do I agree with the decision? Meh. But I think it's about time they made a decision. They've committed to one way or the other. At least now they're committing to the Steph timeline. Before they were trying to balance both, and they ended up just being in purgatory. At least now they're committing one way or the other.
Mm-hmm. I'm not mad at them. I'm not mad at them. I thought they should have traded him.
I ain't mad at Paul George either. Paul George, go get that bag.
Paul George for sure. Paul George got to take.
Go get that bag. Yeah, go get that bag.
That's what I was pushing all last year. I mean, they should have traded him. Come off the Steph, so to preserve your future. But they're not feeling that. They're going all in. They burning the boats. So I'm not mad at them for going after Paul George. I think Paul George is the type of player they need.
if you maximize your window, the poverty part of it, you're not gonna really care too much. To be honest, you win that championship, you can live with the poverty for a little.
Right, facts.
Just when y'all thought Steph Curry was finna fall off.
I mean, if the Warriors get ring number 5,
but wait, let me ask you this, Mars. What does this mean for the 76ers? I heard they were trying to go get PG.
George. I'm not.
You
I mean,
think
the
they
76ers are going after Pete?
Yeah,
They're going
this
after
is not gonna
OG,
be
bro.
enough, but at least
They're going after
they're
OG.
trying.
the Sixers are going all in on whatever wing.
Nah, what you mean? Why
Yeah,
not?
Sixers are going all in on whatever wings available. OG would make sense. They can offer OG a bag.
Okay.
It would make sense. Yeah, they're going all in. So if you're a Knicks fan like you are,
Yes, sir.
you don't like this news, J-Rob. I'm gonna be honest. You don't like
Really?
this news. Yeah,
Really?
Because they're gonna go. Whoever the best wings in free agency are, they're offering them as much as possible.
Yo,
And right now, that looks like it probably is OG because they're not gonna get LeBron.
Honestly, when the Raptors ended up trading OG like to get what they got, I was like, yo, shocked because they loved him. They loved this dude, but this is exactly what they're trying to avoid because they knew that some team was going to come out and try to offer him 42 or 43 million. So that's crazy.
So this Paul George domino is the one that we need to be watching if you're a Knicks fan right now.
Yeah. You got to pay attention to the Paul George sweepstakes for sure.
God damn it. God damn it. Maybe
all right, y'all.
For that nigga contract.
Moving along with the super chats. Pip named Slickback sent one through. Let me go ahead and put you right here, good buddy. There you go. Pip said, Mars. I told you in February what happened. You can't run from destiny. Thank you, Houston. Sean Marks finally fixed the clot in his brain and saved us again.
Give me my draft picks back.
Wow.
Give me all my draft picks back.
Yeah, I don't. You guys weren't because this news dropped at like 3 a.m. for me. So I was in my bed. I was comfortable. I was trying to sleep. Then I see X or Twitter go off. I see Woj announced the tweet. I see Mikal to the Knicks. For about 8 minutes, I was as happy as I could be because they hadn't announced the Rockets' involvement yet. Right. As far as I was concerned, the Nets are committed to tanking, and we still have their 25 pick. I'm thinking Cooper Flag is coming to Houston. So for about 8 minutes, I was getting ready for our championships in 2027 and 28. That's how. And then it was a very high. And then Woj announces that we're giving the Nets their picks back for Suns picks later down the line. Yeah. And I was just depressed. I thought we got Cooper Flag or like we was in the sweepstakes and we lost it. So I was emotional. But I've slept on it. The objective part of it is it makes sense. It makes sense. And the reason I think it makes sense is because, okay, it doesn't make sense if we're actually trying to trade for Kevin Durant. That's stupid. But long term, I think it makes sense because we're at a point where we have 6 great young players right now. In my opinion, 6 great young players.
Mm-hmm. Great.
We can't keep whatever. We can't
March potentially 7 too. Y'all got the number 3 pick tonight. So potentially 7.
We can't keep adding young players for the next 3 years. The 25 pick, the 26. We can't keep doing that because at the end of the day, there's only so many roster spots. So us extending the picks out to 2029 and 2031 when the Suns are probably going to be trash makes sense. The issue is I can't get the fact that we was going to have Cooper Flag out of my head. So that's just going to keep annoying me.
Sorry,
like,
yeah,
if we could have done all of this but somehow kept the 25 pick, I would be very happy. And I understand
y'all have no
from
picks
a
in
logistics
2025.
standpoint. Yeah, I understand it. But I know the only reason this was possible is because we offered the Nets back their draft capital, and in particular that 2025 pick. And that's what's angered me. And if any of this stuff about KD is true, we've lost our minds. And to add insult to injury, if we're trading Sengun, we've lost our minds times 2.
Yeah.
Are you out, Mars?
If I see us draft Donovan Klingon so we can trade Sengun, I'm an OKC fan.
Chill up Donovan Klingon, though. That's my dog.
I'm not even staying around.
Hold on. Mars, I hear what you're saying, but
I'm gone.
But is that not a good move for Houston? I'm not talking about
trade
future. I'm talking about today.
If we trade Sengun for Kevin Durant,
Ron.
I'm not for. Yeah,
I'm going to OKC. It's not 1A, 1B. I'm done. I'm done with
Hamilton,
you.
baby.
I'm going to OKC.
So what? It will be KD at the 4, Klingon at the 5 from day one. Klingon will start at the 5 from day one, and what? Jalen at the 2.
I'm not neither.
I don't know what else would be in the deal. I don't know what else would be in the deal.
Dylan Brooks.
whatever else is in the show, I don't care. If we trade Sengun for 36-year-old Kevin Durant, we've lost our minds.
March, you don't think that's a team that can compete in the NBA next year?
No. Compete for what?
The championship.
They can compete to be a tough first round exit. That's
Kevin Durant is going to the Dallas Mavericks.
And Mars, so you know, Mars, I want to make sure I get this correct. So Brooklyn gets the 25 pick from the Knicks unprotected. They get the Suns 25 pick unprotected. They get the Bucks 25 pick, top 4 protected. They get the Knicks 25 second. They get the Knicks number 1 and 27 unprotected. They get the Suns 27 unprotected. In 28, they get the Suns pick. In 28, they get the Knicks pick. In 29, they get the Knicks pick unprotected. In 29, they get the Suns pick unprotected. In 2031, they get the Knicks pick unprotected.
It's a lot of picks.
Yikes.
And so that's got a haul.
So we basically get to build our unit back.
Yeah, now they control their destiny. We've basically said the Nets can get their control of their destiny back. We'll take control of the Suns' future. And now we're going to try and give the Suns their future back for Kevin Durant. I hope for everything. I hope that this is just fake. I hope that's
they're serious, Mars.
There's no way Kevin Durant is the aim. If it's Devin Booker, I understand it. There is no way they've done all of this for Kevin Durant. And that's no knock on how good Kevin Durant is. Kevin Durant, top 10 player on the planet. One of the best players in the world. One of the best players ever. He's 36. He does not fit the timeline. He's not even close to being close to fitting the timeline. He's like 8 years removed from arguably fitting the timeline. So
if you take Sengun off this roster, put KD on this roster with the way it is currently, with the big fella clinging from UConn, does that make them a championship contending unit?
No.
Yes.
It makes them.
You never know till you try.
It makes them a tough out in the first or second round.
Based on what, Kling? Based on what, Penn?
I think KD is one of those players that it's zero energy transfer. He's not great because of athleticism. He's not great because of twitch. He's great because of craft. He's a player that's going to age phenomenally well. He had a really good year last year, even though the team around him was pretty dog doo-doo. So I'm just saying, with Fred VanVleet there, a guy that I've slandered a lot in my life, but agree that he is a very good player. Jabari Smith getting better. Cam Whitmore. You got so much depth. Amen Thompson, bro, like these guys could be ready to be contributors on a good thing. You're 8-9 deep. Plus, you add Donovan Clingan. I mean, if you add Donovan Clingan, and a lot of people think he's one of the most NBA-ready players right now, and I think this probably be a good segue for Ron to get into the draft. Man, I really find me 6 teams that are definitively better than them. And it's like, okay, they're not the top team in the West. Maybe they don't beat Denver. Maybe they don't beat Dallas. But like right after it, they're right in it. They're right in it. Like, I think KD is a really good player.
I love this trade.
I agree with
I disagree.
I think OKC is clearly better than them.
I think OKC is better.
I think OKC with Alex Caruso is better than them for sure. I agree with that.
I think OKC. This is just West. OKC.
Mars, presently constructed. OKC. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Denver.
OKC's better. Yes.
Denver. Minnesota.
Yes.
Dallas.
It's
yes.
Presently constructed. Pels.
Yes. No.
Lakers.
No.
Sacramento.
No.
So currently, you still looking at the Clippers.
Like the fifth. We're like the 5th best team in the West.
You still are the 5th best.
Yeah,
team in the
but that's not accounting for how much better some of your young players can get. And we have all seen explosive 3rd-year growth from certain players. Jalen Green picked it up towards the end of the year. I don't know what kind of player he's going to be, but if he picks it up with KD, that's a lot of gravity off of you, right? Plus, you got Jabari Smith. I really believe in that guy. Like heavy. Think he's going to be like a really good player in the league and a real guy. So him. Plus, you got Amen Thompson. Plus, you got Cam Whitmore. Bro, like you could grow with this. And so these guys could take an increased load. Like I understand moving off of Sengun. I like Sengun a lot, but I get it. Like putting your chips. And I mean, this is the same team that paid Fred VanVleet, 30-year-old Fred VanVleet, $40+ million, bro. This is obviously a team that wants to win. They're thriving. All right, so they're dying for relevance right now. So yeah, I get it. You know, if you don't believe in Sengun long term, if you believe that building around a post big who doesn't defend super well is going to be troublesome, and you believe that Kevin Durant is a way out of that, giving yourself a couple of years of relevance and then moving on into the new core, it's not like you're toast once KD is done, right? Like, you got young players on the come up. You're gonna have to pay those guys at some point anyways. Their contract's gonna kick in when KD's contract expires. You're giving yourself a 2-year window to be really good. And who knows? Once you get into the playoffs, who knows? Someone gets injured, someone twists an ankle, suddenly you're in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, Pell, can I ask you a question though? Who do you think the best player on the Rockets was last year?
It's somewhere between Fred VanVleet and Alperen Sengun. It's one of those two guys. Why? You think it's definitively Sengun?
There's no way you hate Fred VanVleet.
Fred VanVleet is crazy.
I haven't heard you say a negative thing about Fred VanVleet in all the time I've known you.
I promise you my entire video archive is basically saying how selfish to do this. But bro, like, defensively, you gotta attribute value to Fred VanVleet. You gotta look. I think the Fred VanVleet element is he works really well with a pick and roll big like Alperen Sengun in the short roll, right? Once you take that dynamic out of it, he shifts. The same thing I said about OG can be applied somewhat to Fred VanVleet. He's a very positionally versatile defender. He has a ton of, come on. If you cross-match Fred VanVleet onto a wing, that's not an easy time for that wing. He's got heavy hands. He's really crafty. He's a great
he's sort of,
defender.
You said very positionally, but I wouldn't.
He's positional. You wouldn't stick him on the center, but if he ends up stuck on the center,
he's surprisingly switchable for his size. But there's still a limit.
He's a really good player. He is like everything that NBA GMs value that most fans don't value. This guy could put up 15 points, 11 assists, and be the best player on the court for a team. I'm telling you, man. Like, I'm telling you, he adds massive wins to you. And Alperen Sengun's a really good player from the box score perspective, and he had good analytics last year as well. But defensively, in terms of like the play style you're structured with, the places he operates on the court, the spacing element of it, Fred VanVleet is just portable. Fred VanVleet is a very portable player. He fits and shifts into many different holes. And so if I'm, I remember when the Raptors were looking
considering how small he is, which is rare too.
Right. And he's just a really skilled guard, right? Mm-hmm. So when I look at it, like when the Raptors were thinking about trading for KD, and there was all those rumors about, would they give up Scotty Barnes? Would they give up so-and-so? I didn't like Fred VanVleet back then. But I said, if you trade for KD, you got to keep Fred. It's the perfect pairing. Fred and KD is just basketball synergy. They work very well together.
Why do you not like him?
Fred? Because I think he hijacked the Toronto Raptors offense in order to get paid. I think he over leveraged himself a lot. I think he drove into the paint way too often and tested his limitations. I think he thought of himself as the successor to Kyle Lowry, and I think he's the antithesis of Kyle Lowry as a person. And frankly, he had I think it was a hip flexor injury or something like that made him very, very compromised as a lateral mover. It really took away a lot of his juice defensively, and I think he's recovered a bit. I think he had a phenomenal year in Houston. Like, he had a really good year in Houston. He is probably unfairly credited with their turnaround. He's not the only reason they turned around. Obviously, Dylan Brooks is a big part of it. Another guy that I don't really like, Ime Udoka, a guy that I cherish and love. He is a huge part of it too. But, they want to win, man. They want to win. And, if you're giving up Alperen Sengun, that's a really steep price to pay. But KD is a guy that is just, I don't know. I don't think it's as bad as you're saying it is. It may not be as good as I'm saying it is, but it's definitely not as bad as you're saying it is.
I think the trade makes sense. I just think going for Kevin Durant if it's Devin Booker, I think we're in a good position because he fits more of the timeline. If you're saying Houston won a 2-year window, and then after KD leaves or he declines, we're still going to have young guys on the roster to keep pushing. One, it's not just Sengun and the picks. There's probably going to be another young player. I don't know which one is going to be, or two. It's probably going to be some extra pieces too. So we don't even know who's going to be left. I'm of the belief that if there's 3 of our young guys who should be untouchable, it should be Amen Thompson, Sengun, and Jalen Green. Those are the 3 who, to me, should be non-negotiables.
Jalen Green.
Yes, I think he should be a non-negotiable until next year.
Over Jabari.
Yes. But I want to clarify. You haven't been here the whole season. Chill can testify. Ox can testify. I've been saying none of them should be moved.
Yeah, Mars
every single one of them should stay. Yeah. But if you told me if we were doing a when expansion draft and for some reason you can only protect 3 people, those would be the top 3 on the list. But I'm of the belief that all 6 of them should not be touched. I think they should grow together, all of them. But if you told me I had to pick 3, those would be the 3 I'm not touching.
Mars,
so
if you
hearing that Sengun's name is in there is wild to me. Because him and the men would be the top 2 on that list. I'm not touching them.
I think 2 of those players you mentioned are defensive liabilities.
Mars, if you're moving off of on with Devin Booker, wouldn't that kind of step on Jalen Green?
Yeah, Jalen Green would have to be in that trade, in my opinion.
You like that?
And I just told you, all 3 of them should be untouchable to me. But we're not in the world where it's Mars is the GM, it's Raphael Stone. And he's decided that they're win now. I think Sengun is the wrong decision. If you're going to pick, I think the ones with the most value are Sengun, Amen, and Jalen, just because of upside swing.
I think the contracts have to matter here.
I think the money definitely matters. We can't do this.
Well, Sengun is extension eligible,
and so is Jalen Green. So if Money Green is going to get extended on anything close to what he wants to get extended for, in my opinion, and we're probably very far apart on how good Jalen Green is, even though he had a very promising.
Boss thinks he's the best 2 guard in the game.
You think it's the best? You think it's a bad contract and Phoenix would have won?
I think if you sign Jalen Green to 150, that's a terrible contract. And if he wants 220, that's a really bad contract.
Wait, for 150 million, you signed Jalen Green for 150 million?
I think that would be a terrible contract.
5 years, 150 is a terrible contract.
That's a steal.
Terrible.
Yeah,
we can agree to disagree on that.
$30 million.
That's not a wait. Hold on. That's not a steal.
Defensive liability.
He's a
massive defensive liability.
Oh, I think Jalen Green showed me a lot. Once you know his baby mama was pregnant, he turned into a different player. Them daddy instincts kicked in. He finally got his groove. I like what I see out of Jalen Green. 150 seems like a steal for that young player. Because I think in the NBA, you pay players based on what you think their potential is.
I think it's literally if you look around Zach LaVine, Bradley Beal, this is the player type. 2 guards who cannot play multi-positional, who do not defend, are not valuable assets. If you had dangled Jalen Green last year, I doubt you get 3 first-round picks for him. If you can't get 3 first-round picks for a guy, he's not worth $30 million. That's how I'm looking at it.
The guys you just named are all commanding more than $30 million a year.
But he's saying they're on bad contracts.
They're terrible contracts. They're unmovable, literally unmovable. You know,
Bradley Beal have no
trade clause. Are there any guys? Then let me ask you this: are there any guys that are on that level or have that type of play style or that level of player that have good deals, in your opinion?
Devin Booker.
You could get 3 1s for Jalen Green. There's no way you sell him. You can't get.
It depends. If a team buys into what he showed in March.
Yes.
So 3 years, 3 months. I'm choosing the 3 years, right?
Yeah, I'm not saying you're illogical in that thing. I'm saying if a team just thought he turned a corner to close the season, that's what we're gonna get going forward if we develop him right. A team would invest in that, but it's a long shot.
Let's play a hypothetical. I'm dangling on one hand. I'm dangling Herb Jones. On the other hand, I'm dangling Jalen Green. They both make around $12 million a year right now, but Herb Jones is signed to a long-term deal on that $12 million. Who's more valuable? I'll play you another one with the 2021 draft. Who's more valuable? Trey Murphy III as an elite role player, a 3-and-D role player, or Jalen Green? I'll take Trey Murphy III 1,000 times out of 1,000.
Yo, Pin. Wait, out of your mind? Hold on, wait, Mars. Are you out of your mind? He's asking me.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna ask him. Are you out of your mind?
Yeah, Mars.
You gotta understand what, because I
know where he's going.
But he already established that.
If you go through it, like this is undoubtable. This is Boston would rather Herb Jones.
Look at the chat.
Boston would rather Herb Jones. New York would rather Herb Jones. Milwaukee, Herb Jones. Cleveland, Herb Jones. Orlando, I don't know.
Yes.
Indiana, Herb Jones. Philly, Herb Jones. Miami would rather Herb Jones.
All his playoff teams, sure.
But then you go to the teams that are Chicago would rather have Jalen Green. Atlanta, Herb Jones.
They already have Jalen Green. They already have Jalen Green. They have Zach LaVine. They already
they get off of Zach LaVine and rather have Jalen Green.
Right.
The age, the contract, they'd rather have Jalen Green.
Yes.
Brooklyn would rather have Jalen Green. I'm not going to speak for your team. I'm going to leave Toronto out. Charlotte, Herb Jones, because they've already got LaMelo, Brandon Miller. They'd rather have Herb Jones. Washington would pick Jalen Green. Detroit, I don't know what Detroit.
They would definitely take Jalen Green as a young
OKC, Herb Jones. Denver, Herb Jones. Minnesota, Herb Jones. You're getting my point. The playoff teams would pick Herb Jones. The teams with no real direction or no real building block
Why am I seeing a picture of
bet on the
Killian Hayes,
upside
bro?
of Jalen Green.
He got
They
cut
bet on
from
the
the French
upside of Jalen
roster
Green.
for the Olympic pool.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The teams that already have a direction or have a building block
that's
or
crazy.
have someone they're building around, they pick Herb Jones, they pick Trey Murphy. The teams that don't have that, they're going to take the upside swing, which is Jalen Green. Is he going to reach his ceiling? Who knows? The odds are saying no. The odds are saying no. If we're going to be objective, the odds are saying no.
I'm just saying,
But they would take the upside swing.
I'm
Utah
just saying
would take the upside swing.
in a league where Malik Monk is signing for 18 million, in a league where Herb Jones is signing for 12 million, even if you think those are crazy underpays, you cannot be paying Jalen Green $30 million. And you're saying that's a low. So here's the thing: with 8%, 10%, 8% raises, at some point, even on 150 million, which you think is a massive discount and crazy underpay, and I'm saying is overpay, at some point, Jalen Green is going to be making $38 million at the end of that deal. Bro, I'm sorry. I think the Zach LaVine disrespect is crazy. I think Zach LaVine was a hell of a good player. Like, he was an all-star level player.
That seems like the norm for that level of player. The level of player Jalen Green is, even if you don't feel like he'll hit his ceiling, the level that he's at now justifies him being paid in that prize pool of players. When I asked you earlier, is there any guys on that level, around that level, at that play style that's on a good deal? You said Devin Booker. Devin Booker is an elite player, and is he not getting a super max?
But Devin Booker in year 3 was like 100 times better than Jalen Green.
That I won't argue that with you. But again, all I will argue is what is the norm in the NBA. Just like when it comes to football, even if you have Daniel Jones as your quarterback, there is still a baseline level of money you're going to have to just pay, because that's what quarterbacks are paid.
That's the market.
Just the going rate. Going rate.
Trends change fast, man. Like, look, Zach Edey right now. I'm trying so hard, Ron, to
I want to get to the draft, but we gonna get to
Zach Edey 20 years ago, first overall pick. Zach Edey 15 years ago, first overall pick. Zach Edey 5 years ago, undrafted. Trends change. I don't know if he's going over Blake Griffin. The notion of you got to pay a big man, a second round, whatever, 5 years ago, yeah. But right now he's back. He's back. Bigs are back. That's what I'm saying. Trends change, right? Jahlil Okafor, a great example. Top 3 pick. Today, he's a second round pick. I'm saying trends change. So isolation scorers who don't do anything else but isolation score and are kind of not great at isolation scoring are not super valuable players. I'm looking at guys like even undersized. I'm looking at even his undersizedness, right? And he's 6'4". You look at a guy like Trae Young. You look at a guy like Darius Garland. These guys are defensive liabilities, but they're so elite offensively. And even their teams are looking at them like, bro, are you the problem here? I'm telling you, man, the Boston Celtics just showed us. You go 5 strong or you go home.
Jalen isn't as undersized as those guys.
He's 6'4" with a 6'6" wingspan. He's undersized.
He's closer to 6'5".
Team basketball, Morris. Basketball.
But he's okay. So 6'4", 6'6". I can't remember what he measured at. 6'6".
He measured 6'4" at the draft. I remember.
Oh, he's definitely taller than that.
So that's 6'5" with sneakers.
But yeah, he's probably 6'5".
Okay.
But the thing is, he will be if we built how I wanted us to build, which is not trade Sengun for Kevin Durant, just keep our young core, develop, draft tonight, probably Reed Shepherd. Yeah, but whatever. Jalen Green would be the smallest player in our starting 5 long term. Amen would be 6'7".
Fair.
Tari would be 6'7", 6'8". Jabari would be 6'10", 6'11", and Sengun would be 6'11". Jalen at 6'4", as the smallest member of your starting 5, you're no longer calling him undersized in that regard. And was he a good defender last year? No. Was there a drastic improvement? Yes. Do I see the ways in which he can be viable? Yes. Do I think he'll ever be a strong positive? No. But I do think if he's your worst defender in your starting 5, I think you'll find
you can live with it.
To be honest with you, Mars, I have to disagree in the fact of him being a strong positive, because I think Ime Udoka is going to get more out of him than you give him credit.
No question.
He's still limited in the strength department.
Sure, he has to get stronger. But the other stuff, the defense, to being able to get off the basketball, is he ever going to be, I don't know, James Harden as a distributor? Hell no. I will not go that far. But what I will say is him playing under Udoka is going to get the most out of him in a lot of different ways in his game. He's not just going to be an isolation scorer playing for Udoka. He's going to have to play defense on a consistent basis.
He was getting benched this year because he wasn't playing. He was getting yanked from games because he was.
He's got to buy into that. But Ron, I know we got to get to the draft. I do.
Please.
Yeah, and before we get to the draft, I gotta honor these super chats. Y'all give me 10 minutes to read these super chats, and we got the next 40 minutes to talk about the draft. Sauceman123 said, "I need my dollar back, Ron. It was $2.99 to renew."
Ron.
No, Sauceman actually caught us on a discount because tomorrow was going up to $5.
Garbage.
Sauceman, you got lucky. Actually, you got lucky.
Get Ron off the floor. He killing us.
Garbage.
Killing us.
And on top of that, you should have went to the Hall of Fame tier anyways. So really, you owe me about $75.
Ox, this is your man, Ox.
Sauce.
This is your man.
No, he not.
Yes.
This my man. I don't know him. I'm not locked in with that swindler.
You just mad y'all coming off the year 5.
Read the super chat line.
1K David's been a member for 10 months. He said, "How does this move affect Randle's spot on the team?"
We spoke about that for 20 minutes.
We're gonna send him to the Kings.
Yeah, we spoke about that.
I don't hate that, J-Rod. I don't hate that.
I got a couple new members. Q Will, shout out to Q Will. TJ Rose also became a member today. Shout out to TJ. Shout out to Q Will. DSG Piccolo said that the Houston Rockets trade Sengun and picks to the Suns for KD and Booker is going to hit like crack in the 80s. Mars about to pack his bags for the first train to OKC.
First and foremost, you're not getting KD and Booker.
No, it's KD / one or the other. That's what you're saying.
Right.
One or the other. Ron just can't read. It's fine. Okay. But yeah, KD /
Mars, don't take this out on my reading ability.
No, I'm sorry.
You have to catch the straight. Deal with it.
You have to catch the straight. I'm sorry. So I have to take out something.
Mars, the thing about it is, I don't necessarily want this to happen, but I can't wait for tomorrow morning when this does happen for me to come up here and say, "Eat it, Mars."
For what it's worth, like
eat it.
I'm not going to enjoy it. Like,
Eat it, hater.
if we do trade Sengun for Kevin Durant, I'm not going to enjoy it. But for what it's worth,
here we go.
It's going to be some entertaining basketball.
Here we
I'm
go.
not happy about
that would be the most egregious move I've seen in basketball in recent history. I think that would be the worst. Like Sengun, when I was saying like Dylan Brooks and a couple one or two of those other young guys, I'm like, that's cool. I could see Houston doing that. But for Sengun, that's the most egregious thing I can imagine Houston doing, bro. That's crazy. KD got
big in the league.
KD got a season and a half left on
it.
Why would you do that?
I'm not giving
I do want to say this
best young big for that.
I do want to say this though, Mars. You were saying like 28 and 27 and all that, Mars. You wasn't gonna last with the Rockets till 28 anyway. You was gonna be in Orlando.
It just sped up the inevitability. Yeah.
Mars is 100% for the streets, Ron. He is for the streets. 100% Mars is for the streets.
Mars be a happy hour looking all over.
Yes, yes. You can't leave him by himself for a minute.
What he's sipping a Long Island iced tea at happy hour, just waiting for something.
Yes. Mars is in these
Dub
streets,
Mars, Dub Streets. Dub OKC next. 13200 said Knicks fan here. Bridges is not better than OG. With his addition, I would prioritize Hartenstein right now. Y'all don't understand how valuable he is on offense. He's more valuable than Robinson.
That's why Mitchell Robinson should be the expendable.
I mean, Mitchell Robinson also, his injury, he's injury prone. Like, it's almost inevitable with him.
A couple more super chats. I'm going to speed read through these because we talked about a lot of them. Kai said, Mars, how do you feel about the Rockets making an offer for KD yesterday and reportedly being in win now mode? Do you think they should just keep developing?
Yes.
J.A. said, I think the Knicks need a legit number one option, and they are set, to be honest.
They have him. His name is Jalen Brunson.
Facts. Should have been first team All-NBA.
Polar Bear said, letting the OG walk would be a bad asset management. What's likely, in my opinion, is I heart walks or the Knicks dump Mitch tonight to free up cap space for everybody.
I think it's Mitchell Robinson. Yeah. They have to try to keep Hartenstein on OG about it.
Yeah, we got to keep Bryce Ken.
Kundrill said, have the Knicks successfully developed a draft pick this millennium? Whoever they pick in 27 is a 30 trade. 2030 trade.
Would you count Deuce McBride? We developed Deuce. Would you count him?
Emmanuel quickly.
Dudes maybe quickly, but I'll say dudes.
You developed KP too, so
Yeah.
Jay Got Game spoke this into existence because he said, man, where's J-Rob? Why is this dude from Toronto speaking on the Knicks? Can I get someone who actually knows what's going on with the organization?
Yo, Jay Got Game. I want to say I apologize for the disrespect. My UConn education
crazy disrespect.
Yeah, my UConn education started kicking in. My politics degree ain't worth a damn. Apparently, I don't know how to read, so I want to say I apologize because you didn't deserve that.
J-Rob, I'm here with you. I can cope.
For sure.
My UConn education did not kick in. I apologize, Jay.
What's up with you?
Hey, apparently these 4-year degrees don't mean nothing.
Yeah, they don't mean nothing, I guess.
Educated,
they really don't,
brothers.
J-Rob. They don't.
You two educated brothers, man. Oh, man, I'm sorry.
Oh, man. Hey, it's just a piece of paper.
That state school education
more
ain't
than
what
that.
you think it is, yo. It's not.
Listen, they told me UConn full of rich people. They say you go here, you be successful.
Rod with the super chat. He said, "Pin picks are overrated. The Bulls haven't drafted well in the last 25 years, or have drafted well in the last 25 years. We still suck just because draft well don't mean this. The players on your team.
Rod.
Don't act like it's not your fault that you can't read by reading. Man,
read what they say.
Dog, you can't win out here. Dog, you can't win. I read everything perfectly fine. Now it's on me.
You got to make it make sense, Ron.
I understood what he was saying.
Exactly. Make it make sense, Ron. Don't do it like that. Make it make sense.
Don't do that, Ron. Read what they saying.
First and foremost, yes, picks do matter because your team is fumbling them. That doesn't mean that they don't matter. It's your team screwing up the picks. Not everybody else's teams are screwing up picks, so that's just not true.
That's exactly it. That's like saying I don't need a paycheck because my neighbor wasted all their money. It's like, of course you need a paycheck.
So
get your neighbor's house in order, bro.
Right.
There is a lot of people living like that though. There's a lot of people out there that's really looking for excuses to not be the best they can be. You know what I'm saying? Looking at other people like, well, if they don't do it, I don't got to do it. Like, nah, man, you should want to be the best you could be, man. That's to y'all in the chat. Be the best you can be. Don't look at your neighbors and think you should be what they're doing. Be the best you.
Their house dirty, so my house should be dirty too. No,
yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Wash your damn dishes.
Damn.
All right, so I got a couple more to get through. MP13 said, "What did I just hear? Best point guard in the NBA, Kyrie Irving. What are we doing?"
Who said that?
I said that.
I didn't hear that.
Penn said that earlier when I was talking about Kyrie.
When I was talking about Kyrie going back to this, when he was on the Celtics, yes, he was the best point guard in the NBA.
Oh, we agreed to disagree. Yeah.
No, he was not.
Well, we trying to get to the draft.
Who
so I'm
was better in 2017?
In 2000,
John Wall,
Stephen Curry the second, and Russell Westbrook.
John Wall's never been better.
My bad. Okay, Steph Curry was better.
Facts.
My bad.
Yeah, so we just don't agree to disagree. So yeah, we just don't agree to disagree.
My bad.
Damian Lillard not allowed.
I was about to say, Damian Lillard was still running around the league, giving people 50 pieces. We gotta move on. We can't do this.
My bad. I'll hold that out. My bad.
respect John Wall.
I should have
saying
said
the wrong name.
Greatest
Westbrook.
said New York
in the East.
Oh, East would have been. Yeah, East would have been.
I should have said that. Okay.
Greatest said the New York Knicks is 12-2 with Randle and OG. He got hurt. Y'all gotta relax. Random guy is overthinking everything. You're random guy?
That's
random
guys. Wow.
JR has fit in teams his whole career from Kobe to AD.
JR is Julius Randle.
Oh, I'm about to say
Yeah, see, I had to
Not
clarify.
J.R. Smith.
Someone gonna think J.R.
No, I
Smith. So
figured that.
Chill
I
out,
figured
guys.
that
We ain't
one.
talking
That
about
one I
that.
figured. I ain't gonna lie. I thought that was pretty obvious.
who calls him JR? Ew. What?
Yeah, no, we're not.
He had to fit in the super chat with a letter limit.
I feel it.
Last but not least, 7 grams of 7 grams wish or 7 grams swish? 7 grams wish.
7 grams of wish.
7 grams wish.
7 grams wish.
7 grams wish.
Insanity.
This is what we got to deal with on a regular. Not some days a month. We got to deal with this on a regular. Just so
7 gram swisher is crazy. Lord have mercy.
7 grams switch. Man, that's crazy.
Read the super chat, Ron.
Oh, damn. I'm just contemplating. Should it be all right. 7 grams swish said smart thing is to keep OG and let Isaiah walk. Rather stay elite on the wing.
Smart thing is to keep both.
Facts. We should try to keep both.
All right, fellas. The first day of the NBA draft is today, and this is the first time that the NBA has expanded to a 2-day draft. But we get the first round tonight. I gotta ask you guys,
the NFL so bad.
Who should be the number 1 overall pick? Let's start here first. I'm gonna go around the room and ask everybody. I just need a name. Tell me who should be the first overall pick for the Atlanta Hawks. Damo.
So in any other situation, it should be Sarr. But since the Hawks have 2 centers that they don't know what they want to do with, and Sarr obviously don't want to play for them, the first pick should be anybody but Ricochet. Ricochet should not be the first pick in any draft at all. I don't care who the first pick. It could have been. I ain't gonna lie. Y'all know how I feel about Rob Dillingham. They could pick Rob Dillingham, and I say it make more sense than Ricochet. I'm sorry.
Damo, are they even entertaining? Is Saw even entertaining playing for the Atlanta Hawks? Like, don't even call me.
I'm not gonna lie.
What can Saw do? Like, if they draft him, he just refuses to come to the NBA.
No. That's not
like what's gonna like Atlanta could be like, I dare you to not come to the league. Like, what's he gonna do? Stay in the NBL?
But that's not what he's threatening to do, man.
So like.
If you want him to take him, he can't do nothing about it.
I'm not saying I don't think it's been anything. It hasn't been anything that said like he's refused to play for the Hawks. It's just, he
just didn't want to work out for them. That's it. And I
fully
fully understand why.
Why?
If you're a young player, especially a foreign player, a lot of foreign prospects have this feeling that sometimes maybe their career will be mismanaged. They've seen a lot of horror shows. So why wouldn't you want to go to a position A in Washington? I'm not saying Washington's some great organization, but you have Bilal Coulibaly there, who's a guy from your national team that you know. Number 2, there's no one ahead of you. You're not playing behind Jalen Johnson. You're not playing behind Clint Capella. You're not playing behind anybody. So you can go and mess up and be terrible. I'm saying right now, the minute, if I'm the Atlanta Hawks, if I'm Landry Fields and Atlanta Hawks, and he refuses to come in because he wants a clearer path to playing time, I'm like, we don't want you anyway.
Right.
If that's your level of faith in yourself, like, there are other players who have tried to manipulate their stock at the top. And I tell you, historically, it hasn't worked out super well long term for those players. So I like the players who just say, you know what? There's a lifelong dream. Who picks me is going to pick me, and I'm going for it, right? But I also understand. Yeah, but I also understand, there are certain teams that wanted to avoid Sacramento some years ago when that situation was a little messy. Every agent is going to try to push their team, push their client to where they feel the second contract is most secure. It's always going to be that way.
Don't make that look like you. Don't make that look.
I will not, because I didn't realize J. Rob was throwing shade, and I said, hold on.
I throw shade. I said it makes sense.
Nah,
y'all been a franchise that players have been wanting to run to the.
I agree. I just didn't think you needed to add that.
Look, a lot of players at one point, players didn't want to go to the Knicks, and it's New York City, bro.
Right.
It is what it is.
That's fine. I agree with you 100%. I agree with you. But Penn, I'm happy you went that route, because I was feeling the same way you was feeling. Like when we were saying he doesn't want to come behind this player, he wants to go to Washington. I'm like, you want to go to Washington? But then at the end, when you were saying like you're happy that you wouldn't want a player like that, I feel the same way. If you're scared to compete, if you don't, and I'm not saying he is scared to compete. I have no idea why he's not coming. But I feel the same way. I don't want a guy that doesn't want to be here, first of all. But I also don't want a guy like that sees an easy route and going to the Wizards. Like, that's like what type of,
I do want to play.
That's how you feel about it. Yeah, you want to play to get better. I don't want to play 7 games. I don't want to play. I don't want to play that just once, no matter what. Like, if you want the easy path, everything that you want is on the other side of hard.
Right.
All right. Yeah. Everything in life that's worth getting that you want is on the other side of hard.
So you don't.
You're not. I'm not. Sure. You don't need to take the easy way out. Like you can't beat out these guys. You can't beat out these guys for a spot or get better to get some playing time. I'd rather go play with DeJounte and Trey if I think these guys are going to be there.
Everything
go up there because just because I got the guy that I played on the national team with, like.
But not everything is hard though, and I feel like I know where Damo is going.
Soft.
But go ahead, Ron.
Pin, can I get your number 1 overall pick?
Zachary Ricochet, 100%, 10 times out of 10. I don't buy any of this stuff about it's like, anyone could go first. It's not even close. I'm not saying he's a typical first overall pick. He's not. and I see Domo holding his head because he doesn't like Risa, and I think a lot of people don't. But again, as a person who has been sitting up here valuing versatility, valuing big wings, Zachary Risa is the closest thing that you have to a sure thing at the top. You can make a case for Stephon Castle. You would have to make a very crazy case. You cannot make a case, in my opinion, for Donovan Clingan. If Nikola Topic had measured out a little bit better, and maybe if he wasn't injured, maybe you can make a case for him. Those are the guys who've been circling at the top of this draft. Reed Shepherd, to me, does not read as a first overall pick type of guy, even though I think a high floor. So, yeah, I picked Zachary Risa. I think he's got a lot more defensive versatility, playmaking, and overall, like, I think when guys get him in the gym, when they actually see him outside of the context of where he was last year, they're going to see that this guy has more in his bag. But yeah, in a normal draft, Zachary Risa goes like 6th. So I get people saying, oh, Alex Sarr, that's more of what a typical first overall pick looks like. But bro, that's the same logic that led the Clippers to Candyland with Michael Olowokandi, bro. So yeah, I'm not a fan of Alex Sarr.
J-Rob, who you got?
For a long time, I advocated for Rob Dillingham. Getting more realistic. Yeah, I did. I'm gonna be honest. I did. But being more realistic, and I know a lot of people are going to say this is biased, this is my alma mater, because I went there, but I'm going to go Stephon Castle going number 1 overall. I think Stephon Castle, to me, going to UConn did a lot of great things for himself, showing, the versatility he has as a guard. I think he's the best, in my opinion, outside of Devin Carter, I think he's the best on-ball defender in the draft, Mars. Yes, this is how I personally feel. I could be wrong. You may not.
Defender in general?
Wait, in the lottery or in the draft?
In the lottery, for sure. Definitely in the lottery. We'll go lottery.
You're not about to disrespect my guy Ryan Dunn like that.
No, yeah, he's not. Oh, yeah, he's dumb nice. And then also Devin Carter. But I think Devin Carter's going lottery as well. I think those are the two best on-ball defenders. I think Devin Carter's obviously he's 22. So he's a little bit older. They prioritize the youth in the draft for sure. I think Stephon Castle, his ability to play off ball is slept on. I think he fits for a lot of teams. Whoever would take him. If he doesn't go number 1, I think he's a fit. I think the intangibles in terms of I watched a lot of Big East basketball this year because I watched a lot of UConn basketball, and I don't think people realize he played with the Bob Cousy Award winner, literally a team full of All-Americans, Donovan Clingan. And he, by far, to me, at times, was our most valuable player on that offense and our defense because you can ask him to go get the best guard. That kid's Mark Sears that played for Alabama, SEC Player of the Year, was null and void in the tournament this year just because of the on-ball defense from Stephon Castle. He's 6'6" at the point guard position. He was a point guard his entire career. UConn is where he had to be flexible, and I think that ignited his draft stock because that flexibility, that versatility makes him a lot more valuable. Now, I think he's going to end up going 4 to the San Antonio Spurs, which would be phenomenal, I think, for his career. However, if I were to take somebody number 1, especially Atlanta, who Castle's from Atlanta, they have bigs. I don't think they need to take a big first overall. I think in terms of fit, Stephon Castle would be a good fit in Atlanta, especially if they're going to move off of Trae Young. DeJounte Murray and Stephon Castle in a backcourt, I think that is a great defensive backcourt. And DeJounte Murray's decent offensively, and Stephon Castle has room to grow offensively. I think there is room to improve for his perimeter jump shot, but when he has the ability to just be able to be a set shooter from the perimeter, I think it does work for him. He can get to the basket. He's good in that floater, round the rim area. And he has a lot of size. Look, a 6'6" combo guard at the 1 or the 2, wherever you have him, I think that works. That translates in today's game. And he's defensive minded. I mean, the boy just won a championship his first year in university. I think those things translate. He's going to wherever program he goes to, he's going there with the mentality to go out there and help his team win basketball games.
J-Rob, does his age bother you?
Stephon Castle?
Yes.
He's 19. 20 years old.
I'm talking about.
He was a freshman.
I'm talking about the other kid, the kid
Sarr
from Baylor. That's what I'm thinking about.
Are you talking about Sarr?
Yeah, I'm talking about Baylor. The kid that you got from Baylor that ended up coming to UConn, the 5th-year guy.
No, I mean
that's what I'm thinking about.
We got a few decent guys. I mean, you talking about Tristan Newton.
That's what I'm talking about.
Tristan Newton, he's 23. He's probably gonna go second round. I think he's also going to be a good point guard too. I think he's very slept on. I think his age is really going to make him a low first round, second round pick. He's 23 years old, but he was unranked coming out of high school. He went to Baylor, then he went to East Carolina before he got to UConn.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, I think if I'll go number one, I'd probably take Stephon Castle. I think Stephon Castle has a lot of things that for today's NBA, I think a lot of his intangibles specifically, I think they translate very well. And I think the Hawks to get them a guy
and
Stephon Castle.
And the stuff that they're worried about, like the fact that he shot under 30% on the long ball. We could fix that. There are not many. Every guy that comes into the league is not a knockdown shooter. Yeah. Not everybody that comes into the league is great on the box. Not every guy that comes into the league is an awesome scorer. There's stuff like that we can fix. You know what I can't fix? Yeah. I can't fix run fast, jump high. I can't fix that. Nope. And if I got a 6'6" wing, I got a 6'6" ball handler who's got a motor like a Lamborghini. Facts. I'm definitely going with that.
And you can move him on or off the ball. You know, you even play point guard, you play point guard. I mean, to play the two, he could play the two. And, you know, at 6'6", I mean, there might be a few threes he could guard. You know what I'm saying? And also, too, his shooting motion is not terrible. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't think his shooting mechanics, I think, are not terrible. So I do think he can improve as a shooter.
He's got to be a willing shooter first. He just be turning down shots.
So why do you think that is? No, I'm glad you brought that up, though, Mars. Why do you think that is, Mars?
Playing with a bunch of seniors.
Some of it might be a confidence thing. Some of it might just be pass up a good shot for a great shot mentality.
Facts.
Me shooting an open three, is that as valuable as something else we could get on this possession? Because, you know, college shot clock's longer. We got 30 seconds. So maybe me shooting this left wing three isn't the best shot we can get.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm not as high on the jumper as you guys. So I guess maybe that's why I'm a bit lower. Number one, I think, is a bit lofty. But the Spurs, I think, is a good spot for him. 4 or 8. But I think the Spurs is a good spot for him.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Mars, talk to us. Who you got number one?
Who I think is going to go number one is Ricochet. Who I think should go number one is in best prospect, highest upside, Alex Sarr. But I understand he's not going to go number one. So I think Ricochet is going to go number one. I think Alex Sarr should be the number one pick in most other circumstances. That isn't the one that we're in right now. So, yeah, I got Ricochet going number one. I don't think he's the best prospect in the draft, though. Mm-hmm. Fifth, maybe? That's probably where I'd have him. Fifth.
Okay.
So, yeah, but Ricochet will go number one. Alex Sarr, I think, should go number one.
Big Ox, number one overall pick. Who you got Atlanta taking?
Oh, it's easy. Easy, obvious answer to me. Mind you, I'm not as knowledgeable on these guys. I haven't seen too much of them. But I think the obvious pick is Zach Edey.
I love it.
I
thought he was going to go for Klingon.
I knew he was going to say Zach Edey.
Big men always stick up for big men.
You take the best player in the country. The best player in the country was Zach Edey. You got a shooter. You got a shooter and Trey. You got all that, man. Get you a dunk down big.
You know who agrees with you?
You see why people call you a contrarian?
Rasheed Wallace. Rasheed Wallace said the same thing. Rasheed Wallace
go get the big fella.
That's one of Ox's favorite players.
I think if you let Zach Edey drop out of the top 10, then you're doing a disservice to your squad.
Y'all do know Ox isn't trolling. You do know that he's seriously a heart attack right now.
Yeah, I know he's dead serious. That's why I'm laughing.
Look at this dude right here. I'm
laughing because I know he's dead serious. Like, I know he's dead serious.
I like Zach Edey.
Yeah, I heard him say it too.
Like, Ox isn't
what's your problem with Zach Edey going number one? What's your issue with that? That's what I want to know, Damo. What's your problem with Zach Edey at the best player in college basketball?
He's not immobile either, Chilton. He can move.
Damo, what's your problem with Zach Edey going number one? What's your problem, Damo?
Damo, you don't want to be in a conversation no more?
I guess not. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Damo, so childish, man. So passive aggressive.
Anyway, as you were saying, Ox. As you were saying.
Yeah. So would you have taken Luka Garza number one when he came out?
I think Zach Edey's better than Luka Garza.
That's different.
Yeah, come on, bro.
I don't think that's.
Was he not the player of the year?
Mars,
but it's not
going.
No, yes, it's not just player of the year. I actually think Zach Edey is dope. Like, Zach Edey is.
You don't think Luka Garza was dope?
Mars, I'm being serious, but I'm not trying to.
Here we go.
I'm not trying to do this.
Just because you don't play defense and he can't pass.
Like I think Zach Edey clears Luka Garza. Like,
well, there's a reason.
Look, man, like with Zach Edey, if the shooting is real, and he's saying it's real.
Not yet. It's not.
Look, there's a lot. There's a guy, Jonathan Mogbo. I don't know if y'all watch Jonathan Mogbo play, but I think he's friggin' fantastic. I think about players in terms of like a draft like this, where you're not looking at superstars, you're not looking at LeBron, and there's none of that coming down the draft. Okay, there's no LeBrons, there's no Victor Wembanyama. So looking at guys who can get on the court and help me win, right? As low as I was on Zach Edey to start this cycle out, the more I watched of him, the more I was like, okay, this guy does 3 things on the court that literally get him on the court every night, right? There's a lot of things he does that maybe play him off the court as well. Pick and roll coverage. Maybe he's not, defending at the level of the screen, but there's a lot of bigs that don't do that. Ivica Zubac, he's starting on a playoff team. He doesn't do that, right? Brook Lopez is a drop big. He doesn't do that, right? He was a championship center, right? Marc Gasol, I mean, he was switchable-ish, but I mean, by the time he won a championship with the Raptors, he was primarily drop, right? So I'm looking at Zach Edey and I'm like, all right, this guy can protect the paint, hypothetically. If he's not given the same load as he was with the Boilermakers, he can at least protect the paint. He can offensive rebound, and he can set godly screens. That's at least getting you on the court. If you tell me he's a top 6 player in this draft, like we look back at this 10 years from now, we say top 20 careers in this draft, Zach Edey's 6th, I believe you. He's also crazy durable. He's also crazy. The stamina is insane. For a guy who's 7'4", playing 39 minutes, the way he's playing, the only concerns I have is pace, usage, defense, transition. Can you play him off the court? I've seen him get spammed in international play on pick and roll. So I wouldn't take him number 1, Ox, but I see what you're saying. I think I could go as high as 13, 11.
Wow, that's really coming around for you, Penn, because you had him in the same category with Taco Fall. That's where you had him at.
Yes, that was my first.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
that's right. That's
yeah.
where you had him at. So you've come around a lot since.
I think it's come down to the fact that this draft is just this ass. Like a lot of the players in this.
I don't think it's as bad as you think it is.
Right.
It just doesn't have the
premier guy.
Yeah, so that's a big reason why Zach Edey to me is a good choice. I don't see any of these guys really being the guy that's going to take your franchise to the next level. So if you can get a guy like Zach Edey, who I think will be a good piece on a team that's trying to make a run. He's not going to be your best player, but he could come off. He could be your backup center and come play some. I'm just saying, just hypothetically, if Zach Edey ends up being your backup center that comes out and plays 16, 18 minutes a game and helps you win a championship, bro, this pick would not be wasted if you're still building your squad. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. I don't think anybody in this draft is going to be, I don't even know.
Just wait till.
I mean, there will be an all-star. Like there will be at least 1 or 2 all-stars in this draft. We don't know who they are right now. It could be Stephon Castle. It could be Zachary Sachet. It could be Alex Sarr. It could be one of those guys. And it could be someone you're not thinking about. It could be an Ease Misi. In the
it could be Matas Bruzelis.
It also could be
Ron Holland.
Sure.
Could be
Ron. Is that your number 1 pick, Ron? Is that your number 1 pick?
Ron Holland had a lot of upside. It could be Ron Holland.
With that being said, hold on. Let me play this clip of.
I was gonna ask about how people felt about what Matt's has been saying about Ricochet this whole draft cycle.
Yeah, well, J-Rob,
Enrique Freeman.
Chill. Let me get your number 1 overall pick, and then I'll go ahead and play this clip of the best player in the draft, talking about how he feels about the number 1 pick in the draft. Go ahead.
I do think it's Ricochet. I gotta make sure I say his name. Ricochet. I'm sorry, Ricochet. I think Atlanta should move down because I actually like the kid from Tennessee better on their roster.
Dalton Connect.
I like him better on their roster. Very much like what Danny Ainge did with Jason Tatum. He loved Jason Tatum. He just didn't love him at number 1. So I'm going to move down and I'll take him at number 3. And if that was realistic for Atlanta, I think that's something that they should look into. But to your point, Ron, and we're probably going to go over it. When another dude in the draft says
got cut, bro.
about another dude that this dude don't want nothing to do with me, I do have to question it. But anyway, I do think it's the kid from France.
All right, I'm pulling this clip up right now of my favorite player in the draft, Matas Bruzelis, and this is what he has to say about the number 1 projected overall pick in the draft, Zachary Ricochet.
You challenged him recently, possibly work out
Hold
against
on.
him. Where does that
refresh this so we can see it from the beginning? All right, here we go.
You challenged him recently, possibly work out against him. Where does that stand? Is that offer still out there? Do you feel like he's ducking you?
I think everybody got it twisted once I said it. I respect Zach as a player, of course. He's a great player. He just doesn't want to see me like that. I'm just going to keep it real, like with everybody.
I like it.
That's crazy.
I like it, yo.
I respect it, but I'll bust his ass. He don't want nothing to do with me.
That's how you're supposed to talk. That's
exactly how it is.
Yo, we got another bright-skinned fellow.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
I respect him.
He the project. Zachary, the projected number 1 pick. Matt's saying, "Hey, I'm better than him." So
I'm better than him.
I'm trying to figure out though. Mars, Damo, Pin, J-Rob. What does Zach do better than Matas besides shoot? Yes, he shoots, but
he's 100 times better defender. How's that? That's a good.
Does he clear him, Damo? Does he clear him?
I think Matas is better.
Damo. Does he clear him?
I think Matas is better help side.
You've been doing your homework on
100 times
with these drafts.
I wouldn't say
better. He's a better defender.
My question.
I agree, he's a better defender, but I think they'll be used different in the league. But I think
how big is the gap, Damo, between them two as a defender?
Damo frozen.
We lost him.
Okay, I'm back. I should be back.
This is the gap, Damo. Is this too wide?
Defensively, to me, and I want to preface my statement by saying maybe I'm just a Ricochet hater. Maybe I'm just a hater of Ricochet. So let me start by saying there, I don't see the gap being that big between them defensively and offensively. The only thing I could say he does better than him is shoot the basketball, and we're talking about from the corner mainly. So if we start talking about above the break threes, they might.
He's a
Stop
better
and pop.
playmaker
Stop and pop.
He's about what?
He's a better playmaker too. He just didn't show it last year.
Who's a better playmaker?
He's a better playmaker. He didn't just show it.
Ricochet is a better
That's
playmaker.
offensive
Well, he has to show
man.
it. Well, he has to show it. Well, he has to show it to me. I ain't gonna lie. He has to show me. But other than that, I'm with Brusalis all day. He don't.
Well, while Damo's frozen, Mars, I get better takes than you. I just don't show it. Come on, you can't say that. I'm a better shooter than you. I just decided not to shoot better this year.
Matas did say something. He was like, if I shot better this year, I'd be the number one pick.
There are players we saw. Look, to me, if you're a young guy out there trying to break into the draft cycle, trying to cover drafts, whatever, watch kids in AAU. That's where you get a clearer expression of the player they're actually going to be when they're playing up against guys. But if you're talking about freshmen coming in or young kids going up against grown men, yes, you are in a box, bro. You are in a role. If that's your role, that's what you're going to do. You can do things outside of that role. You know, Zach Edey's talking about how he can shoot jumpers. He just didn't have a chance to show it. Jonathan Mogul talking about how he used to launch threes all day. He used to be a point guard, bro. But he's playing center, power forward for San Francisco. That's your role. So, yeah. You're not the player that you had. You don't have to be the player that you were in college because that's what your college needed you to do, right? Like there are a lot of players we've seen, that played center. Exactly, we've seen these players play center, power forward in college, and then transition over to the wing. We've seen players do the exact opposite. So I'm just saying, like you're not the player that you were locked into your position. Especially true for a guy like Zachary Ricochet or Bilal Coulibaly last year, where they're playing with grown men. Man, I don't think we give fair context to the fact that 18-year-olds playing up against grown men. It's a different context.
Matas was doing that too, though.
Matas was in the G League. And that's fair. But he was also on a...
It's still grown men,
I understand. I understand that. They are grown men, and you are playing against grown men, but you want to... I'm not underrating Matas. He's a top 5 player on my board. It just, to me, the gap is big enough. Like, I'm really high on him, actually. I really am.
Can I ask you about a player though that is falling, and I would love to get your opinion on? He's falling down draft boards. Like his range, I think, can be like anywhere from 11 to second round. And he, as a freshman, averaged 16. Maybe for a bad basketball team. Isaiah Collier is going to.
I don't understand what's happening. I don't understand.
And so, yeah, because I'm gonna be honest, I don't get it either. How he's like plummeted. I don't know what it is, but I mean, the draft to me, at least from an NBA standpoint, I think the biggest difference between NBA and NFL draft, you're not drafting somebody strictly off their potential, bro. You're drafting off what they producing day to day. I think Isaiah Collier, not only did he produce in terms of like his points output, but also he has potential. The boy's 6'4". He got a man body already. I mean, I don't see how he's like plummeting down draft boards, and that's like 6'4", 2, like 6'2", 6. No, he probably like 6'4".
He's not tall, but he's just built. So like he plays bigger than he is. He plays bigger than he is.
He got like and chill. He's he's at least 215. Like you know what I mean? Like he built, and so I don't know how he just
in the NFL.
He could literally be a starting free safety in the league, straight up.
He's strong. He's stronger than most point guards in the league as well.
No question. Mars is dead right. No question. So I don't know how he's falling so much. Like I actually don't understand
issues and jump shot questions would probably be.
I think it just comes down to this, right? If you're picking a player in the draft, you're taking a swing, and it doesn't matter if it's the top or the bottom of the draft. You're taking a chance, right? So when I'm looking at, as a general manager, I'm looking at how many different outcomes are you successful in? How many different versions of you is successful? I think the best example of this would be a guy like Pascal Siakam in 2017, right? Or 2016. They drafted him 27th. He was supposed to go second round. But you see all the different outcomes that this guy could have been. He could have been a Draymond type. He could have been a Chris Boucher hustle big type. He could have also become the version that he became, which is like the slimmest outcome. So ask yourself, how many different versions of Isaiah Collier are successful?
Right.
Is there a TJ McConnell version of him? Is there a Drew Holiday version of him? Is there a John Morant version of him? And that's what I'm saying is, like, for a lot of these prospects, like Zach Edey, Isaiah Collier, Nikola Topic to some extent, Ron Holland, there aren't as many avenues to success as there are for players like Stephon Castle and Zachary Risachet, where Stephon Castle literally come in. He could be your stopper at the 3. He could be your stopper at the 1. He could be your point of attack guy. He could be a help side guy. That's defensively only. What about offensively? He could be a corner spacer. He could be a primary initiator, a secondary initiator. He could even play big maybe down the line. There's so many different ways that Stephon Castle can be successful. And so if I'm a team out there, I'm rolling the dice anyway. I'm like, yo, I might as well roll the dice with 7 outcomes that are positive. Whereas with Isaiah Collier, I'm seeing 1 outcome that's positive, and he becomes an all-star primary initiator. Because secondary initiator, I'm not seeing the spacing ability. So if he just had a really terrible year at USC, and this is like one of those players that's going to pop, I get it.
But in a terrible year, he averaged 16 in college. You know what I'm saying?
After he came back from his wrist injury,
he wasn't shooting.
After he came back from his wrist injury, he was shooting the ball, like, relatively well. Like, there was
super small sample size. Whenever we're talking about college basketball, right? It's like I look like last year we talking about Grady Dick went 13th overall, bro. For the first 3 months of the season, which would have been like 40 games, he was probably the worst player in the NBA.
Oh yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
He was getting cooked in the G League, bro. Like he went up in the G League, and he looked like the worst player in the G League. And I'm like,
I saw him play up in Paramount in Canada. Yeah, he wasn't too good. He wasn't too great.
It was bad.
In the second half of the season, it was a completely different story. Suddenly very confident, dropping 20 every now and again. It's a completely different thing. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, yo, if that 40 games, that's longer than a college season. So if you buy the tape on Isaiah Collier in AAU, and he's really like, he was the number 1 ranked player coming into this cycle, him and Ron Holland have fallen off a cliff. So if you buy it on those guys, and they're going to fall down draft boards on draft night, maybe some of them are going to be available at 21, 22. Like maybe Ron Holland's going to be available at 14. Ron Holland is the guy that I think like should not be falling this far.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
Everyone I spoke to who understand, like, who is in like drafting clients, like they pay attention. No one I spoke to seems to understand why Ron Holland is dropping. But everywhere I read, Ron Holland's dropping. So like,
interviews. I think
interviews. There's no way he's interviewing this poorly.
Some players do interview very poorly. I don't know. I'm not in his interviews, but it's like there's a certain way that you see yourself. Like, I mean, Stephon Castle, right? I think there was talk about Stephon Castle probably going top 3, and then suddenly now he's not in the top 3 conversation. It's like, why? Did he maybe let it leak that he wants to be a point guard in the NBA, and that kind of threw some people off and be like, wait, we don't see you that way. We evaluated you as a 2
because we saw the role you played at UConn.
2-3. Exactly. Yeah. And so now you got to sit there like, but hey, another guy who had to convince teams that he was really a point guard when they didn't think he was going to be a point guard? Magic Johnson. So,
but at least with Stephon Castle, like whether or not the reports are true, but something came out that explains why Stephon Castle wasn't as high as before, because apparently he wasn't trying to work out with Charlotte because they had LaMelo or whatever.
No, Mars, he did say he couldn't wait. I think in one interview he said, like, I can't wait to play point guard again.
Yeah, so like that comes out with Ron Holland. It's just been radio silence on reasons why.
Yeah.
But everyone's saying he might drop out the lottery or he might not be in the top 10. And I don't see where there's such a like, unless he's going into these interviews just saying, "Hey, I'm the best player on your team from day one." Like, I don't know what he could be possibly saying that's gonna drop him this far. This is like Cam Whitmore, but worse, in my opinion. Like, I don't know what's happening.
He has more upside than
Cody
Williams, Mars?
Huh?
Do you think he has more upside than a Cody Williams?
If everything hits, yeah. If everything hits, I think he has the highest or second highest upside in the draft.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think there's a bigger conversation here of the if everything hits guys, because it's like we always look at physical tools, right? We don't always look at mental tools, right? So I look at a guy like Isaiah Crawford. He's a very good example of a guy who played at a smaller school, really, really accomplished college player, went through numerous injuries as a 5-year player, right? Really good player. I cannot see that guy, unless he's injured, failing in the NBA to be at least a rotation player or a role player in the NBA. He's probably going to go undrafted. But why don't we look at the tools that make people successful in real life, in like, instead of just looking at this hyper chamber, which is okay, wingspan, vertical, boom, right?
Like Enrique Freeman, for example, at Akron.
That's a good example.
When I think about Mars, he's my guy.
I've heard you mention him like 3 times now.
Enrique Freeman and Isaiah Stevens from Colorado State. Those 2 guys are my guys. I can appreciate Stevens being small, but the fact that he led the Mountain West, that's not a bullshit league. That's a big-time league, the Mountain West. And the fact that he led that league in assists while averaging 16 a game, getting downhill, taking care of the basketball the way that he did, I bet I'm on Penn's page when it comes to valuing versatility. I'm definitely on your page when it comes to that. But I'm also I'm also a big fan of dirty work stuff. You might not be a dirty work guy, but you do the dirty work stuff. And this kid, Enrique Freeman, he led the conference in rebounding 4 straight years. 4 straight years he led the league in rebounding. And by the way, he was a walk-on. So the motor isn't a question. You can't question his motor. He walked on to the crew. He didn't get a scholarship. Walked on to the crew. And not only did he walk on to the crew, led the conference in rebounding 4 straight years, led the league, was in the top 5, in the top 10 in the league in scoring twice in those 4 years. This is a dude who didn't really get much attention. 4-year starter. I think he played his freshman year, and then he got hurt, and he redshirted. The next 4 years, he was fantastic. When I think about guys like that, you brought up Magic Johnson. That's Ron Harper. That's Ron Harper right there.
All right, fellas, I'm gonna dive into these super chats, and we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up. Appreciate everybody that's been in here. Go ahead and hit that like button if you haven't. As for the super chats, Lil Techie said, "Can we not talk about my Bulls right now? I'm mourning their deaths."
I can't wait for the Bulls to take a 23-year-old with pick number 11. It's gonna be amazing.
Dalton Connect.
I can't wait for it.
Life of Cam became a YouTube member today. Big shout out to Life of Cam. Appreciate you for joining the channel, my man. Kai sent through a super chat, said Rockets are now reportedly making offers for Booker.
So you have to come off, like you said, Mars. You got to come off Green if you're gonna get Book, because we basically in the same situation with Book and Bradley Beal. If you got Book and Jalen Green, you're basically in the same situation.
They're gonna have to, if we trade Jalen Green for Devin Booker, we're gonna give back the picks, of course, and it's gonna have to be some salary match, and I don't know, Steven Adams, other pieces, whatever. The Suns are gonna have to attach their own picks onto Bradley Beal to get rid of him. So, like, I don't think the Suns are in a bad spot. I think we should just keep their picks. If I'm honest.
Problem with Bradley Beal is he got a no trade clause in his contract. That's the problem with him.
So they're in a bad spot, very bad spot.
Rod said the Knicks are just building a 2015 Bulls.
The 2015 Bulls would have gone to the finals if the refs ain't cheat when David Black tried to call that timeout. But
even if they go up 3-1, Mars, they still don't win. I'm not sure that they win the series.
They win the series. They win the series. Up 3-1, they're winning that series. Up 3-1, they're winning that series.
Jay Got Game said, "You came at me crazy, J Rob, but let him me know."
Oh, Ron.
Let him me know. I didn't
Oh,
type
Ron.
it.
Next super chat. Next super chat. All right.
Ron is garbage.
Chill. All right. Jay still got game, but greatest said, "We here. Greatest city. Greatest team. Hashtag go New York. Go New York.
This the New York Knicks fan base, boy. I'm telling you, when they do something, yo, it's that dude in the neighborhood, Ox. You know, I just bought a pool. I got the dopest house in the whole neighborhood, right?
I mean, if there's ever a time to be happy, this one's kind of valid. This one's kind of happy.
Sure.
Valid.
I like what they did, though. I do. I really do. I really do dig what they did.
Yeah, it's still not gonna be the Pacers.
Facts.
Super chat from Brian Pumper said, "Hey fellas, what do the other East contenders do? I believe a team like the 76ers should just concede and blow it up to smithereens."
Should have did that a long time ago.
Keep hating.
Maybe
we're gonna bring back Ben Simmons. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna bring back Ben Simmons.
Hell no, you're not doing that, Mars. Let's kill
They're
out.
about the Sixers are about 2 seasons too late. They should have did this 2 seasons ago.
Man,
They're going for an all-star level wing or a high value wing. So OG, Paul George, I don't know, whoever else. They're going for someone like that. And then
could they win the OG Anunoby sweepstakes and end up with OG Anunoby in Philadelphia?
They have
which I don't hate, by the way.
They have his ex-coach.
Right. And I don't hate that. I'd be lying to you, Penn, if I said that I hated him in Philly, because I do actually like him in Philly. And I think I think Nick Nurse would use him really well.
Everything they do is predicated. None of what they do matters if Embiid isn't healthy in the postseason. Like, none of it matters. So they could get Paul George, LeBron, Kevin Durant, whoever they get. If Embiid isn't healthy, it doesn't matter. So everything they do is dependent on whether or not they believe Embiid will help. So big gamble.
All right, fellas, it's been an amazing show. Penn, appreciate you for coming through. NBA draft is tonight. Mars, where are you gonna be during the draft?
Hopefully I will be on playback during the draft. Hopefully. I mean, Ron, it's at 1 a.m. So hopefully. But yes, I will be there. If I'm not there, I'll make a video about why I'm leaving Players Trust.
Oh! Hey, the plot thickens. Hey, this hit the fan
A
quick.
drive-by at the 3 hour and 1 minute mark. That's...
Merry Christmas, guys. Merry Christmas.
All right, we'll catch y'all tomorrow.
Later.
All right, peace, guys.